Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk is live and direct on a Victory Monday. And what a Victory Monday here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. 580 WIBW FM 104.9, 580WIBW.com, and on our video stream, our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, our Facebook page, WIBW News. However, wherever, whenever you're tuning in to this edition of 580 Sports Talk, thanks so much for being a part of the audience. We appreciate having you along. We are back from the weekend with 3 hours of sports talk here on this 580 Sports Talk episode on this Victory Monday. The Chiefs are fixed. K-State is fixed. The vibes are high. We're glad to be with you on this Monday. I am Dan Lucero. That is Brendan Wrzinski across the way. Spencer Dupuy is off today. Brendan, it's great to have you along. I am glad that you have sufficiently recovered from that casserole of nonsense we saw on Sunday Night Football last night. First 40-40 tie in NFL history.
Yeah, second highest score in the history of the sport. Yeah. Better than losing.
Yeah.
I saw so much, you should be ashamed to have tied. Really? Because I'd be much more ashamed to lose, personally.
Yes, losing is worse.
Half a win and half a loss, a lot better than a full loss and no wins.
This is true. This is a
That's
healthy
math for you. Happy Math Monday.
That's a very healthy way to look at it. And as Tyler points out in the YouTube comments, it was scoregami. So that was fun.
It was
scoregami.
scoregami.
That did make it worth staying up until 11 o'clock to see the end of a tied football game.
Yeah. Packer defense was, to use a favorite phrase, turbo ass. Cowboys the same.
It was a deeply unserious football game.
Jordan Love was good as hell.
Yeah, both quarterbacks.
Jordan Love and Dak Prescott both, for you stat heads out there, 0.54 expected points added per play. In layman's terms, they both played like all-time great MVPs last night. Like anything over 0.3 for a season is like MVP frontrunner kind of stuff. They were at 0.54, both of them.
Wow.
Outrageous game.
So
burn the tape, though.
We'll get into some more of that a little bit later on in the program today. But again, vibes are high today because the Kansas City Chiefs looked like the old Chiefs in a way that we have not seen them look in probably a couple of years now, in a 37-20 dismantling of the beat-up Baltimore Ravens. We will get into that. Lots to come from the NFL Week 4 action and that Chiefs contest. And, of course, our guest today is our NFL insider, Matt Verderame from Sports Illustrated and SI.com. Matt will join us at the bottom of this hour. We'll get his thoughts on that Chiefs performance as well as everything else that happened that is fit to discuss from Week 4. We're not probably going to talk about, the Carolina-New England game. Probably not going to bring that one up.
I don't know. Ugly might be holding Bryce Young stock. I want it to work, man. I really do. It's not. It's not working at all. Drake May was good. I can give you something on anything.
I know you can. That's why we're happy to have you on this.
Commercial-free 3 hours. I will be filling the commercial breaks with thoughts on games you do not care about.
Big takes.
Professional takesman over here.
Speaking of teams that made it feel like old times, K-State with a rout of UCF at Bill Snyder Family Stadium on Saturday. And like the Chiefs, turned out they were really missing one particular injured guy. Both those teams had something very much in common when it came to early season offensive struggles. Sometimes all it takes is getting your freak athlete back out there with crazy speed. And all of a sudden, everything else looks a whole lot better. So we will discuss that Kansas State victory over the Knights of UCF. Not a victory Monday for our Jayhawk pals. They dropped a heartbreaker at home to Cincinnati. Game that felt a little too familiar and not in a good way for these Jayhawks. Kind of felt like a 2024 early season Jayhawk game in the sense of how it ended. But some things to like, but also certainly some red flags coming out of that one for the Jayhawks. We'll get into that and the rest of the Week 5 college football action as well. There's plenty to discuss from the Big 12 round of games. We are with you until 6 o'clock. We will not be handing it off to the Royals Baseball Network. Not tonight, not the night after, not until March. Because the Royals season is over. They do finish with a winning record in consecutive years for only the third time in Brendan Rosinski's lifetime.
Yep.
93-94, 13 through 15, and now 24-25. They won their final 2 games over the weekend in Sacramento against the A's to finish at 82-80. Might give a parting shot there. JJ Piccolo and Matt Cotrero are going to speak tomorrow, and we'll have more to discuss on tomorrow's show as a bit of a Royals post-mortem once we've had the chance to hear from both Q and JJ.
Let's give a big round of applause to the Kansas City Royals, who finished with more runs scored and fewer runs allowed than the AL Central Division champion, Cleveland Guardians.
No, that is
there
a
we go,
fact.
Royals! All right!
That is a fact. The run differential champion. Well, no, that would have been the Tigers still.
Yeah.
But no, there's a lot of that out there. If the Royals had been in the National League, they would have still missed the playoffs, but they would have only been 1 game out of a playoff spot. Man, like we'll get into that in headlines, but like if it's not a team I have a vested interest in, and I'm saying this as a lover of baseball, you cannot make me care about the race for the 6th seed in the American or the National League. It shouldn't exist. Who cares? Unless it's my team fighting for it, in which case it is the best thing that ever happened. So I understand that I contain multitudes. But as a neutral, like, oh, exciting weekend of baseball. Who's going to be in the National League? The Reds or the Mets? Man, they both ass. Who cares? They both stink. I don't want to watch either of them play.
I don't like the Reds. I've never liked, the Reds have not been very good most of my life either, but I really don't like the Reds. However, I'm thrilled that they got in over the Mets because
it's funny.
Well, Gary Cohen and Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling had a collective temper tantrum. Everybody loves the Mets broadcasters. They're treated like the gold standard of TV local broadcasters, but fine, they do a good job. They were crying and whining and soiling themselves after they lost like gutless, choking dogs the entire last 3 months of the season. And when they got eliminated by the Marlins took a team picture on the field after eliminating the Mets. Oh, my God. You would have thought they just watched a Kennedy get shot. Like, oh, this was their World Series. Literally, dude, they won 78 games. It's over. This is your World Series, too, and you yacked it away like losers.
All you had to do was win.
The New York Mets are losers. You've always been losers. Even when you won, it was only because you were high on copious amounts of cocaine.
Yeah,
you couldn't win sober. You losers.
Maybe that was the problem. Not enough coke.
Yeah,
in
do more
the Mets
coke.
clubhouse.
Maybe you'll be a better team. Spend your money on that, Steve Cohen. Losers.
All right.
My mom hated the Mets like her whole life. It was 1969 when the Cubs were the gutless choking dogs in that case. So I grew up hating the Mets. And I still do. Losers.
We want to hear from you today.
Doesn't help that every ESPN anchor is a Met fan. Every one of them.
I think our new CEO's a Met fan.
He is, but I don't think Jeff's listening to the show today.
And
if he is, Jeff, you're not a loser.
We want to hear from you on the text line today. 785-272-9429 is the number. 785-272-9429. Weigh in on what you saw, what you liked, what you didn't from the football weekend. Also want you to get involved if you are watching the show on YouTube today on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel. Go subscribe to the 580 Sports Talk YouTube. Get us closer to our stretch goal of 900 subscribers, at which point we will perform for you on a round of 580 Sports Talk karaoke. Go subscribe to that YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. Hop in the live chat. We want to hear from you in the live chat today. Good afternoon to Christopher, Vance, Mark H. Tyler, I mentioned, is already in today as well. Paul is in on the chat. Great to see you guys. Look forward to hearing from you and more listeners throughout the day today here on 580 Sports Talk. Let's start with the Chiefs. 37-20 winners over the Ravens yesterday afternoon. And we can include the caveat right off top. That is a Ravens team that is in the deepest part of hell. And things only got worse for them today with the announcement that Nnamdi Madubuike is in fact out for the season. Broderick Washington has to go on short-term IR. Lamar Jackson sounds like he's going to miss time. Roquan Smith is going to miss time. There might be no coming back for this iteration of the Baltimore Ravens this season. The injury bug may have bitten just a hair too hard.
Yeah, it's over. It's done. They're cooked. And my dad loves to say, put a fork in them. Put a fork in the Ravens. It's over. No, even with these dudes, they have not been good. I don't think they have a good defensive coordinator. The offense, just too boomer bust. Their line's not great. It's done. We don't need to talk about the Ravens anymore.
Yes, they are a team with some problems, some deep-rooted issues.
By the way, Pittsburgh's going to win that division and go to the playoffs again.
At 9-8.
Mike Tomlin is inevitable.
He really is. But from the Chiefs' perspective, we are accustomed, I think, over the last couple of years to seeing the Chiefs come out of the gate September and October and be not as convincing as you would like for a team defending a conference championship or in multiple cases a Super Bowl championship to be, because the Chiefs understand that November, December, and January is when you want to peak. And every year we get a handful of performances from the Chiefs come November and December. Last year in particular, it was the stretch of games around Christmas. It was the Christmas Day game against the Steelers. It was the Saturday before that when they beat the Texans. Performances that remind you who the top dog is in the AFC. Typically from the Chiefs, we have gotten those later in the season. While they used the early part of the season to define themselves, figure out who they were, almost play their way, not into like physical shape, but just play their way into form, knowing that it didn't matter what happened in September and October. And if you dropped a regular season game, whatever, you were going to be in much better form as the Chiefs come November, December, and ultimately January and February. But those games always served as reminder games. The Chiefs haven't had to have one of those in September for a while. They needed one on Sunday to avoid a 1-3 start, to give themselves a chance to get a toehold back into the race in the AFC West and for the top seed in the AFC. And they had one of those games yesterday. That was a game that felt like the Chiefs offense hasn't felt, I would say, since before the Tyreek Hill trade, to be completely honest with you. That was the last time that I watched a Chiefs offense and felt like, well, it doesn't really matter what this defense does here. The Chiefs can go down and score. It felt every drive, and it was 7 of the 8 possessions for the Chiefs pre-garbage time. And the only possession they didn't score on was because Harrison Butker missed from 56 yards. It felt like they were inevitable again. It felt like, all right, we got the ball. All right, we're going to go score. Do something about it. We dare you to do something about it. We're going to hit on a big play. We're going to be explosive. We're going to stretch the field. We're going to use our speed. We're going to work the middle of the field. Everybody's going to get involved, and we're going to go score. We're going to go find ways to score. We're going to be lethal in the red zone. It felt like that in a way that it has not felt. Did you realize that the last time the Chiefs scored that many points in a football game was the first time Taylor Swift showed up at Arrowhead Stadium?
Bears game.
Yeah, week 3, 2023.
They pulled that game off of CBS. It was such a blowout.
Yes. No, they absolutely
everywhere
did.
But the local market.
So it has been a while since it felt like that for the Chiefs offense, and combined with a Chiefs defensive effort that after Baltimore put together a very nice opening drive with their scripted stuff, just like they did in the season opener last year when they went right down the field on the Chiefs and scored a touchdown, they didn't do diddly or squat after that. Steve Spagnuolo and the Chiefs defense had all the answers. They blitzed the life out of Lamar Jackson because they knew the back end could hold up coverage-wise, and it did, with Leo Chanel earning his first career interception. The Chiefs also recovering a Lamar Jackson fumble. That was a performance that served as a reminder. Usually we don't get these until November, December. We got one yesterday, September 28th, a reminder from the Chiefs to the rest of the AFC. Just so you know, this goes to 11 whenever we want it to. Whenever we feel like it, this is who we are. And the AFC still goes through us. I think it was a statement performance from the Kansas City Chiefs yesterday.
Well, the big reason why I think Worthy coming back was so important, and I'm not trying to take away from the skills that, like, Xavier Worthy himself as a player and what he brings to the table, but that speed specifically, the Chiefs have made a concerted effort to throw the ball down the field. That's why I think the difference, or why it feels like this is so different from the last 3 years, and it hasn't felt like that kind of we're going to go down and score when we want kind of approach since Tyreek Hill was traded after the 2021 season. they have not made a concerted effort to throw the ball down the field this much, because that has been the Chiefs' approach offensively since week one. They have been trying to push it. Mahomes, I don't have the numbers from past weeks in front of me. 11 pass attempts of over 10 yards or more for Patrick Mahomes on Sunday. And that's not just a throw and after the run following the catch, they got to 10 yards. No, air yards, 10 or more yards down the field, 11 of his 37 attempts. So just a little shy of a third of his pass attempts for the game were of that distance. That is a big change. That's more slinging it than we have seen from Mahomes, certainly over the last 2 seasons and really the last 3. So that's the big difference. And Tyquan Thornton has been a really nice addition to this team, and I have nothing bad to say about him. But when Tyquan Thornton is your second deep option, and you've also got Xavier Worthy who can do that, as opposed to like still trying to make Travis Kelce down the field happen, or like, hey, Juju, how far can you go before your knee explodes? Like, that is what changes things. So I don't know that it's necessarily like Xavier Worthy himself is the skeleton key to unlock the offense. I think it's the fact that you've got a dude who's fast and has at least average hands who can get down. And again, nothing against Xavier Worthy. I'm not trying to put him down, but having that secondary speed option now, or being able to make Thornton your secondary speed option down the field now, suddenly that opens things up a whole lot more. You get back Rashee Rice, who can win from 5 to 15 yards, and suddenly you've got something really cooking. And it's why I want to make sure I give credit where it's due here, because you heard me all offseason saying the thing that the Chiefs need to do is to update the offense. They need to make schematic changes, because Mahomes is still that guy. I think the pieces can be okay. You've got to find a way to update what they are doing in terms of the concepts, in terms of the way they attack the field. And they have so far. And I don't know how much of it is scheme and how much of it is Mahomes saying, I'm doing this. I dare you to stop me, Andy. Take me off the field. I dare you. But it's working. And when you finally have the pieces that make it work, surprise, it suddenly looks a lot better.
Stretching the field horizontally as well as vertically, having speed threats to get to the perimeter. So it's not just Tyquan Thornton running 9 routes. It's everything Xavier Worthy can do. It's the increased addition of Brashard Smith to the offense. It's somebody who can take a swing pass or take a screen and take a sweep and do some damage. What that does when you have to defend deep and you have to defend wide, opens the middle of the field wide open. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Juju Smith-Schuster was productive and had a touchdown. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Travis Kelce only had 4 catches, but they were a productive 4 catches, finding space to operate over the middle of the field. And when you get the guy back who's the best at working in the middle of the field right now for the current Kansas City Chiefs in Rashee Rice, that just adds an even further element. Like, he's going to get the targets that Hollywood Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster are getting right now, and he's going to do a lot more with those than those guys are capable of doing, because he's just a better player than those guys. So you're starting to see what it's supposed to look like, the vision for it. When they all got to camp and everybody talked about trying to be more aggressive and being more explosive and being more dominant, because that's what it was. It was dominant in a way that it hasn't been in a long time. It was dominant in the sense that they scored on 7 of their 8 possessions. That's like old-time Chiefs. We used to sit here on this radio show in the heyday of the Chiefs offense, 18, 19, 20, and we'd say, well, the Chiefs are going to score 30. Can the other team get 30? Do they look like they can get 30? Can they score on 7 of their 8 possessions? No, they're not going to beat the Chiefs. It felt, even if just for an afternoon, like that. And I think more is even possible as they do get Rashee Rice back, as the offensive line continues to gel. They should have dominated yesterday because the Ravens are so beat up on the interior and don't really have a pass rush threat right now. But they did dominate every single one of them, including penaltyless Jawan Taylor. We got to give the guy his flowers. As much as we've killed him for being mistake prone and a walking 10-yard penalty over a lot of his Chiefs career, he didn't commit a penalty yesterday. And you saw how smooth the Chiefs offense operates when they're not shooting themselves in the foot.
Man, someone on Sunday Night Football for the Cowboys had the Taylor penalty, the illegal formation lined up off the line of scrimmage. Take a step forward. What are you doing? It drives me nuts. Anyway, the other guy I wanted to make sure to point out, Kingsley Suamataia. Now, caveat, if you want, the Ravens have no juice in the pass rush. The Giants do have a good defensive line, though,
yes,
last week. So in the first 2 weeks of the season, weeks 1 and 2, against the Chargers and against the Eagles, Kingsley Suamataia had allowed a team-high 8 pressures. He has had 82 pass block reps in the last 2 weeks, 82 pass blocking snaps. And he has a grand total of 1 pressure allowed. 1 allowed last week against that really good Giants front. 0 in 41 pass blocking snaps yesterday against the Ravens. Not 1. No one twisted and got by him and bring a blitzer past him. He did not allow a single pressure in 41 pass blocking snaps. It will not always be like that, but after a rough first 2 weeks as a pass blocker, he has now been pretty much unstoppable the last 2. 1.2% pressure rate. Excellent.
Yeah, things start to come together for that group and for the group of pass catchers with the return of Worthy and the pending return of Rashee Rice. And it feels like the sky might be the limit for this Chiefs offense in a way that it hasn't for quite some time. Got to mention this about the defense before we take our first break. We talked last week about Nick Bolton having a rough year to date. One of the lowest graded linebackers in the PFF grades throughout the league. And wondered, okay, well, what's his role going to be? Like, he's going to be out on the field because he's a really important guy to, like, the scheme and getting guys lined up and all of that. But, like, what is his role going to be? And Steve Spagnuolo said, well, what if I just blitzed him up the middle every down? What if I just shot him out of a cannon right through the A gap, right into Lamar Jackson's face? Oh, unathletic Nick Bolton. What if I just fired him up the middle like a bullet on these blitzes, on these second and third downs, these late downs? And boy, it worked. It worked a treat. It forced the interception by Chanel. It forced the 4th down incompletion that gave the Chiefs a short field to eventually take the lead. It was a masterstroke. It was a brilliant game plan from Steve Spagnuolo, and everybody on that side of the ball executed it brilliantly.
5 pressures on 10 pass rushes for Nick Bolton, career high. Do you know how many of those pressures were blocked?
I'm going to guess none.
None. 5 pressures all unblocked. And the eye test confirms that. I mean,
he's coming through clean.
When a linebacker's best trait is blitzer, that's a big red flag. And I still am not ready to be like, oh yeah, Nick Bolton's back to his 2023 form. But they found a way to use him. It's not like he was killing them elsewhere. So it was effective. The Chiefs were able to cover any other spots, and Baltimore had no idea what to do. That's just such a Spags win for the defense at that level.
Dominant performance. We want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts into the YouTube comments. Send us a text, 785-272-9429. We'll have some more Chiefs reaction after this timeout. Then we'll hear from Matt Verderame, our NFL insider. Still got plenty of college football to get to, including K-State's big win on Saturday. A jam-packed show. We're very excited that you're here with us here on 580 Sports Talk. 3:32 on 580 Sports Talk. We're just getting underway. Some of your thoughts from the YouTube comments on the Chiefs' 37-20 win over the Ravens yesterday. Paul chimes in, watching Lamar experience his own personal hell on earth yesterday was just awesome. You know, every player, whether they admit it or not, is keen to their own like mortality and keen to the understanding that you only get but so many years to go win a Super Bowl. The Ravens and Lamar Jackson in particular felt yesterday like they were realizing this year had already gotten away from them. And the injuries piling up mean they are in deep, deep trouble of recovering this season. And same about lost seasons. You don't get them back. And it felt a little bit existential in a way, watching Lamar in that 1,000-yard stare on the sideline when Cooper Rush checked in to that game late in the third quarter. Paul also points out that Rashard Smith was a nice contributor yesterday. Was a bit worried we wouldn't see him after that early drop, but he bounced back. I think we're going to see more and more and more of Rashard Smith as things go along.
I hope so.
I mean, Pacheco had the touchdown, and he played a fine game. He had seven touch carries, near 5 yards per rush, and had the touchdown out of the backfield. He also had a bad drop. But Smith has the speed and the ability to make guys miss out on the perimeter that Isaiah Pacheco just does not have. So I think we're going to see, like, I don't think he's going to be a volume guy, but if you can get him the rock 3 to 5 times in the game, I think good things are going to happen when you get Rashard Smith the ball.
No, I'm right there with you. I hate seeing 24 now, though. Sky Moore ruined it so badly.
I know, he gives you a little bit of a PTSD there. Christopher says, I think that dude wearing number 1 was sorely missed, maybe more than we knew. Man, when they threw it to him on the first play and it didn't get anything, but when they threw it to him on the first play, it was abundantly clear. It's like, hey, just be aware. This guy's pretty important. We're going to try and get him the ball a lot today.
Oh, yeah.
And then what was it? Career high in receiving yards in the regular season. So the 3 highest receiving yardage games, I didn't phrase this very well. The games for Xavier Worthy where he has the most receiving yards, his 3 best receiving performances are his last 3 games. AFC title game, Super Bowl in that game. Last 3 full games. So I think we're starting to see the guy come into his own, which is extremely exciting to think about. We're taking another break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, Matt Verderame, our NFL insider, will join us. We'll get his thoughts on that Chiefs win, plus the rest of NFL Week 4 coming up on 580 WIBW. joined on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline by our NFL insider, Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated, SI.com. Also appears on the Kansas City Sports Network, KCSN, and he's got his own Patreon, subscriber-only Patreon, the Matt Verderame Show you should check out. Matt joins us every Monday here on the program at this time. And, Matt, we start with the Chiefs' dismantling of the Ravens, and we'll get to all the problems the Ravens have in just a little bit. But as far as the Chiefs go, that kind of felt like the Chiefs of the early days of the Mahomes dynasty, did it not, on offense?
That was the best game they've played. I went back and thought about this. Just the regular season. That's got to be the best game they've played since they hammered Tampa on that Sunday night when Brady was still there. And we're talking, that was also ironically a Week 4 game. And that was 2022. We're talking for 3 years, best game they played, when you factor in the opponent and everything else. I thought it was, there are games that you win and you feel good about them. And then there are games that you win and you walk out of the game and there's just a certain something about it where it was different. That was what we're looking for. That game was it. And you could point to the offensive line. You could point to throwing the ball down the field. You could point to getting some of the other guys involved. Obviously, Worthy coming back was terrific. Even like Rashard Smith, getting him in there, and he had some juice. And Mahomes was his first time throwing 4 touchdown passes in the game in 2 years. It was more than that. It was the decisiveness. It was the accuracy. Everything. He looked. Look, I think he's been good this year. He's just been saddled with an impossible situation. He was MVP-esque in that game. He was brilliant. The Ravens couldn't do anything. And we all know they were beat up. I understand that. The Ravens were losing that game no matter who was in it. The Chiefs just stomped them for 4 quarters in a way that, I'll be honest, I didn't think they could do it. I actually picked them to win, but I didn't think they'd win like that. They were dominant.
Does this performance, and this is just with Xavier Worthy back, Rashee Rice still 3 weeks out from his own return from suspension.
Yep.
Does this make you think that this Chiefs offense can be what they advertise themselves to be and get back to the level of explosion, the downfield threat that really we haven't seen since the Tyreek Hill trade?
I think the downfield part of it, yes. Because to be fair, they were even doing some of that with Thornton. Worthy coming back, obviously, you're adding a whole other element. You're adding a much more polished player in a variety of different ways. But, yeah, I think that part of it is definitely back in the arsenal, which is nice to see because the last 2 years it felt like a deep ball. It was like a 12-yard route. I want to see how they play on Monday night against Jacksonville. Jacksonville is one of the better defensive teams so far in the league. Now, some of that is because Jacksonville has 13 takeaways, which is by a mile the most in the NFL. Personnel-wise, they're nowhere near as good as maybe the rankings would show. But Baltimore is a train wreck defensively. Now, that being said, the Chiefs did what a really good offense would do against a really bad defense, which is just annihilate them. Just take them apart. If the Chiefs didn't pull guys out of that game, it was worth 50 points in that game. Baltimore just couldn't do anything. But, yeah, I think, look, if you're the Chiefs, certainly you had to walk out of that super encouraged. Sit there and say, look, I don't care who we're playing. We moved the ball without any problem. And really, again, could have easily probably 45, 50 points. I don't think it would have been any question. So, yeah, I think for the Chiefs, you feel good about the downfield passing game. When Rice comes back, as good as Worthy is, he's the best receiver on the team. It's going to change things for the better even more. But I think for Kansas City, for the first time in a while, you watched the game and walked out of it and felt like, yeah, that offense, if that group shows up, we're in a pretty good spot.
Matt Verderame is our guest. He covers the NFL for Sports Illustrated and SI.com, also podcasting at the KCSN, as well as his own subscriber Patreon page, The Matt Verderame Show. Matt, how impressed were you with the offensive line yesterday? And in particular, we were talking about him earlier, Kingsley Suamataia. He's only allowed 1 pressure in 82 pass blocking snaps over the last 2 games. Baltimore has no pass rush juice. The Giants certainly do, though. It's like the only thing they do well. So how impressed have you been by the line, and in particular, the second-year player, first-year guard, Suamataia?
Very. The last couple of weeks, to your point, he's been spectacular. And he was, let's just be honest, in the preseason, he looked awful. And in the first 2 games, he was pretty up and down. He had some really nice moments. He also had some moments you watched and went, "Ooh, don't love that." He has been about as perfect as you could be the last 2 weeks. And to your point, I mean, the Ravens are playing a JV team essentially, but the Giants were not. And he went against Dexter Lawrence. He went against Bill Carter at times, and he hung in there. He hung tough. But I will say this about the offensive line: if he's good, and I don't even it doesn't have to be great, but if he's just good with the way Simmons is playing, all of a sudden you got a line that, no matter what you're getting out of Juwan Taylor, that's a group that really is above average, and maybe even upper tier, because you've got a center and a right guard who we know are among the best in the business. So listen, in the end, if you're the Chiefs, you look at this line, and for years it's always been you're trying to fix the tackles, you're trying to do something different. I mean, they've gone through 1 million tackles. We know the story. Suddenly, it looks like an offensive line that if they can continue to play the way they played the last couple of weeks, you're in business, because they have been about as perfect as you could be.
The other team involved in this game, the Baltimore Ravens, can we just not really worry about them? Like, Lamar's a great quarterback. Derrick Henry's going to be in the Hall of Fame. John Harbaugh's a great coach. All that, yada, yada. They've got 1 million different injuries. They stunk even when they were healthier. They're even worse without these guys in there. Can we just like move on from worrying about the Baltimore Ravens this year and move on to some other teams?
Well, listen, I mean, there does come a tipping point, right? I mean, I don't care who you are. I don't care how talented you are, what your roster is. There does come a point where you just can't overcome it. And they might be there. I mean, Roquan Smith looks like he's going to be out a little bit. Marlon Humphrey's going to be out a little bit. Matt Abike's out for the year. We'll see what happens with Wiggins. Or Darius Washington, he got hurt in the preseason. He's not a big name nationally. He's a really important player. He's out for the year. It's a lot. It's a lot. And I got to be honest. Look, I don't know exactly what happened with Lamar and his hamstring, and I'm not going to speculate because I'm not there. I didn't cover the game in person. I don't know. But I will say this. I did not like the body language of that team in the second half of that game. You know, listen, sometimes you lose, sometimes you get your tail kicked, and that's part of the sport. That happens. And heck, we all saw the Super Bowl last year. But, you know, as bad as that game was for the Chiefs, on that stage, you never saw them quit. They lost. They got smoked. They didn't quit. I felt like the Ravens in that game, and I'm including the coaching staff in this, it felt like they just flat out quit. It felt like the fourth quarter of that game, they were like, yeah, we're done. We're good. We'll see you maybe in January or something. I mean, it's one thing to lose. It's another thing to just basically lay down. And again, maybe Lamar, the hamstring was bad and couldn't play. That's fine. But as a team, coaching staff on down, it just felt like they just kind of gave up. And that's a bad sign.
Our guest is Matt Verderame, our NFL insider from SportsIllustratedSI.com, joining us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. Given Baltimore's struggles and injury woes, and given their own 24-21 win over Minnesota in Dublin on Sunday morning, are the Steelers now the team to beat in the AFC North?
They might be by default. I mean, look, Burrow's pretty much out for the year, right? I mean, the Browns defensively are good, but offensively, wow. They might be, because you look at the Ravens, and like I said, I mean, there is just, not to repeat myself, but there is a tipping point to this. I mean, at some point, I don't care how good you are, you can't overcome everything. And you do just kind of wonder. I mean, look, even if Baltimore, let's say they get healthy in a month. Let's say in a month that they're they're back to like a normal team's health. Okay, well, your next 3 games are the Texans, Rams, and Bears. Like, now the Texans and Bears aren't overwhelming, but the Texans can play defense. The Bears are, to their credit, 2-2, and the Rams are really good. Like, are you going to be, I don't know, 2-5, 3-4? I mean, maybe if you're 3-4, you're like, okay, you can kind of deal with that. You got some games on the other side that are a little easier. You got Miami, you got Cleveland, but it's, you know, if you're Pittsburgh, you don't have a first place schedule. You're not playing Kansas City. You're not playing Houston. You're getting easier opponents, and like, I do think there is something to the idea that, yeah, I mean, look, at some juncture, even if you're the better team and you start making them great, you don't have enough time. This isn't baseball. It's 162 games. You don't have the time to do it. I know that's why the Chargers losing yesterday. If you're the Chargers, that's a killer loss. That's a killer. You can't lose that game if you want to win the division. And it feels like with Baltimore, like, they can't afford a loss like that now. They're going to have to win all their games they should win. And with all these injuries, that's easier said than done.
The Philadelphia Eagles are 4-0, and they went on the road to beat a previously unbeaten Tampa Bay team this week. It does not appear to have satisfied any Eagles fans or made any of them happy for even 1 second, because the offense continues to be a little bit trick or treat. Where are you at on the Eagles? Are they what their record says they are, or do they have some cracks in the foundation that are a concern long term?
I am not the first person to make this comparison. They are last year's Chiefs, where you look at them and you constantly wonder how in God's name they're winning games, but they just keep doing it. And I honestly, I know there are people out there who think that's all luck. I have always believed teams that do stuff, it's a skill. It's a skill to win games like that. It is a skill to win in the NFL. It is very hard. And I am very impressed by the fact they didn't complete a pass in the second half yesterday and won the game. I mean, they had negative yardage in that game, second half, and they won. They found a way to win anyway. So I do think at some point you've got to give them credit. Now, on the flip side of that, we saw not the reference Super Bowl last year twice, but we saw last year, that also, like, the bill comes due at some point. And if they can't figure some of this out, I mean, somebody eventually is going to play a game where they just play 4 quarters. I mean, we saw the Rams do it for a half, and I felt like they kind of let their foot off the gas in that game. And to Philadelphia's credit, they showed why you can't do that against a good team. They beat them. But, yeah, like, at some point, A.J. Brown's got to catch more than, like, 2 passes. At some juncture, Saquon's got to get going. At some point, the defense has got to play a consistent 4 quarters. I still do think they're the team to beat in the NFC. Still proven otherwise. But, yeah, look, you feel good about where you are. You're 4-0, relatively healthy. But, yes, you also look at this thing and go, all right, well, they got to start playing a little bit better or the roof's going to eventually cave in. But they're 4-0, and they know how to win. And that is something that can't be done without a lot of experience and finding ways to win football games.
Wrapping things up with Matt Verderame of Sports Illustrated and SI.com joining us here on 580 Sports Talk for the Monday afternoon after NFL Week 4. Matt, how'd you feel staying up last night for a 40-40 tie?
Felt pretty disgusting. Ties are awful. They shouldn't be allowed in sports. They're the worst. I mean, the Packers might as well just stayed home. They could just have the game and called it, right? Like, I got to say, the Packers are still unbelievably lucky at the end of that game. I don't know what they were doing. No idea. It seems like they didn't know a clock was involved in football. Like, I don't know what was going on. They couldn't stop Dallas. Dallas, to nobody's shot, couldn't stop Green Bay. But that was an extremely bizarre football game. I mean, that game, it felt like the Packers, at the last 2 minutes, was just like, we'll just settle for a tie. We're good. I know that's not what they were thinking, but it felt that way. It was a very odd game. And look, quite honestly, if you're Dallas, you're probably walking out pretty happy with that. If you're the Packers, that's a bad job. I mean, you got to win that game. Dallas is not good. And without CeeDee Lamb and all those guys up front, I mean, to lose that game, that's a rough one. Or it feels like to lose. To tie the game, it's a rough tie.
Doubleheader tonight for Monday Night Football. The East Coast game is just disgusting. It's Jets-Dolphins. That's horrible. The second game, not really all that aesthetically pleasing either, especially with no Joe Burrow. It's the 2-1 Bengals at the 1-2 Broncos. Might be some rain in Denver tonight. How much of a must-win is this for the Broncos?
It's 100% because they're at Philly next week and they're not beating Philly. So they have to win this game. Like, they lose this game, they're probably 1-4. And they're not Kansas City. They're not Baltimore, where you go, well, that team could just rip off 8 wins in a row. Like, those teams are capable. Denver's not doing that. Denver, they lose this week, and they follow that up with a game that we all believe Philadelphia is going to win. Start looking at Denver's schedule, and it's getting late early. I mean, you got to play Kansas City twice. You still got to play the Chargers again. You know, I mean, you start looking at that thing, and it's not easy. You got Washington later on. They've got, they got Houston in a game that might be 3-0. Denver's got to win it. You have to beat Jake Browning and all. But I actually think that, look, Denver should win tonight. But Cincinnati's one of those teams, like, if Browning plays halfway decent, they could just beat them like 20-17 because they do have the offensive playmaker. So it'll be interesting. But Denver has to win this game.
Matt Verderame covers the National Football League for Sports Illustrated at SI.com. Also appears on that football show on the KC Sports Network and his own subscriber-only Patreon, the Matt Verderame Show. Joins us every Monday to talk NFL on 580 Sports Talk. Matt, always a pleasure. We'll do it again next week.
Sounds good, guys. Take care.
That is Matt Verderame. We'll take a timeout, come back, and wrap up this hour with the good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend. Let's do the good, the bad, the ugly from the weekend that was. My good, injuries suck. So it's really fun to see guys come off injury, talented football players, and remind you how talented they are. Xavier Worthy for the Chiefs, Dylan Edwards for Kansas State, both made major impacts on winning efforts this weekend and showed how much their teams really missed those guys. That was great to see.
My good, unfortunately, it came in a loss on Saturday afternoon. Another one-score defeat for Washington. They're getting close, man. They're going to break through here soon. But Chase Allen Jackman, nice efficient day. 3 catches, 2 touchdowns in the game. He's got 6 touchdowns in 5 games this year. 3 double-digit or multi-touchdown games. He had no catches last season. He's got 6 touchdowns through 5 games. Another good one on Saturday for Chase.
My bad from the weekend that was Kansas not being able to hold on that lead against Cincinnati. It felt like they were on the right trajectory, felt like they had a lot of winnable games in front of them. They had a 4th down and 10, and they get to stop there. They win the football game, and they couldn't get the stop, and 3 plays later, Cincinnati scores a game-winning touchdown. That's a gut punch. We'll talk more about that in the next hour as well.
The bad for me is the host of the Athletic Football Show, Robert Mays, 2 weeks ago, did a segment on his show, and the question was, are the Green Bay Packers the best team in football? Since then, they have lost to the Cleveland Browns and then could not stop a nosebleed against the Dallas Cowboys. Shut up, Bears fan. Leave me alone.
My ugly, we'll get to this more in headlines, in particular, was Saturday at the Ryder Cup. Ugly that the United States lost the Ryder Cup on home soil. That's not supposed to happen. They made a game of it, so to speak, with some spirited golf on Sunday, but they were cooked because of the way they played in the team portion. And Saturday was a disgrace. It was a disgrace with the way the United States played, but it was even bigger disgrace in the crowd. Some of America's biggest D-bags following around the European players. It's one thing to be spirited. It's another to be mean and rude and crass. And the crowds there were. It was a disgrace on Saturday.
The ugly for me, Robert Saleh, defensive coordinator of the 49ers, and Jaguars coach Liam Cohen nearly came to blows post-game yesterday, with Saleh telling Cohen, quote, "I'll bleep your world up. You don't want to bleep with me. I will bleeping end your bleeping life."
That seems extreme.
You're what? Bro, Just settle down. Get off the creatine.
Kind of stuff they were telling old Rory McIlroy and Shane Lowry from the gallery on at Bethpage on Saturday.
No kidding.
Coming up at the 4 o'clock hour, K-State back on the winning track. KU drops a heartbreaker. What is wrong with you? September semis and more on 580 Sports Talk. Let's get it. Hour number 2, 580 Sports Talk. It's a Victory Monday on the program. So glad you're with us on the sports voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and in living color on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook stream, WIBW News. Dan Lucero, Brendan Dworzinski hanging out with you on this Monday. Spencer Dupuis is off today. I might be off tomorrow. I don't know yet. I might have jury duty. Am I allowed to talk about that? Like, can I say that out loud? Like in public where people can hear me that I might get summoned?
I don't know. Can you not?
I have no idea. I've never been summoned before. I never got a summons in the mail. But
I did once and they never got to my group. So they never called me.
Yeah. I didn't get called today. So,
so it's either today or tomorrow?
We'll have to see. We'll have to see how it goes.
But Wednesday, you're in the clear.
I think.
I don't know
who
works for the city or state who can chime in here.
Yeah, no kidding. No, I mean, I'm going to get somebody going to fly in. Hey, actually, yeah, I'm a state employee and you're out of bounds, buddy. Can't talk about that jury
you're going
duty
to the clink for this one.
Somebody from the 785 sends a text. And you can text the program today, 785-272-9429. Says even if you don't show up, they don't do anything. That is not what I have been led to believe by the very large postcard I got in the mail.
My dad has a story about being called for jury duty several years ago now. One, he took the train from the suburb that my parents live in, where I grew up, into the city. He was like, wow, these trains are incredible. They just take you right downtown, huh? Like, yeah, you've lived here for decades. What do you mean? That's exactly how the trains work. Your wife used to take them for work every single day. Anywho, he gets down there. He waits all day, takes a day off of work. Finally, his group is up next, and they're like, okay, done for the day. Thank you for coming, but, we don't need you here. And I guess he, talked to the bailiff or whoever it was, like, I wasted all day and you don't need me? And I guess the guy kind of shot back, and I'm like, you want to stay all day and come back again tomorrow? It's like, okay, never mind, sir. Thank you. Thank you for letting us go. I'll leave now.
So I had never in my life, I haven't moved around quite a bit. Never in my life been called or received a jury duty summons. And then when I was at home in March, back at my parents' house, but just still, everybody's from somewhere. Home will always be the place you grew up. Mm-hmm. My parents still live in the house that I did some of my growing up in. So that's home sometimes when I'm referring to being home, and back in Centennial, Colorado. And while I was back there with my wife and son, we took some days during my wife's spring break to go. I got a jury duty summons for the state of Colorado in the mail. They have been thinking for the better part of, and I have not lived there permanently since a fun employment summer back in 2015. Mm-hmm. They have been under the impression I've been living under that roof all this time. So I had jury duty summons. I've been getting ballots to vote for elections in Colorado and national elections mailed to my parents' house. And my parents shred them. We've never committed an act of voter fraud. You can't prove that we have, certainly, because we haven't. But got this jury duty summons. So finally, went online, hey, I can't come to this because I don't live here anymore. And got an email back promptly. Okay, you've been removed from the records. And also, you're not going to get those ballots anymore. Which, okay, good. Save the paper. Save a tree. Then, ironically, about 4 months later, I get summoned here in Kansas. So, I'm fully prepared to perform my civic duty if that duty calls. So, if you're not hearing my voice tomorrow, you can assume that I'm one of the 12 Angry Men. I love that movie. It's a great movie.
It is a great movie.
And I remember I watched that. Probably in college. I watched it in college class. Anyway,
I'm pretty sure I watched that in constitutional law in high school. Here's how courts work.
There you go. So yeah, maybe I'm talking out of school. I don't know, but that could be. If you don't hear me tomorrow, that'll be why. Anyway, we've got 2 more hours of sports talk today. We're with you until 6:00. Coming up later on this hour, we're going to recap Week 5 of college football. Talk about some of the Big 12 action. We'll talk about KU's loss to Cincinnati. We've also got our semifinals for What Is Wrong With You for the month of September. We had 4 full weeks. So we have 4 battle-tested winners this week. No short weeks, no play-ins. We've got 4 long week winners that will be battling for the right to go up against each other in tomorrow's September championship on What Is Wrong With You. But we begin with K-State 34, UCF 20 at Bill Snyder Family Stadium on Saturday. I was there. Remember my sunglasses because the sun's always right in your face for the first quarter of those 11 a.m. games. You're sitting on that side of the stadium. And if you had not watched a single Kansas State game, if you had gone into a coma in mid-August, before Farm-O-Geddon, before that ill-fated trip to Dublin and everything that followed prior to the bye week for K-State, if you had been in a coma and you had awoken from that coma Friday night and then said, I can't wait to watch my favorite team, the Kansas State Wildcats, play football on Saturday. Surely the season is going great. The expectations are high. Surely this is a team that I will enjoy watching on Saturday. And if Saturday was the first time you watched K-State football all season, all you knew about them was the names on paper and the preseason expectations, you would have seen pretty much what you thought you would have seen from K-State football in 2025. Because a lot of the problems that have existed on offense for Kansas State in their first 4 games, poor offensive line play, Avery Johnson not effective as a runner, guys aren't getting open down the field, those problems were either entirely mitigated or much less urgent by the return of Dylan Edwards and defenses having to account for that dude coming out of the K-State backfield. 20 carries for 166 yards, including a 75-yard touchdown. Not coincidentally, Avery Johnson had his best game on the ground on the season, rushing for 77 yards, also threw for 186 and a pair of touchdowns. This all accomplished, by the way, without Jace Brown, who apparently had been dealing with an injury all week and thought he was going to be okay to go for Saturday, got out there for a snap to run around and then was like, nope, ain't got it, sorry. So we still have not seen the best version, the best, healthiest version of this Kansas State offense, their best guys all on the field together. But Saturday was what it was supposed to look like all along. And Dylan Edwards is the kind of player with the explosiveness, the speed, the ceiling to make it so. It was not perfect, but it was really good. And more importantly, for what it means from Saturday forward, it was a heck of a lot better than what it was first 4 weeks.
Agreed. I think the pessimistic read is it's a little jarring that with this much talent, you still are like your entire offensive success for the whole year is predicated on a 5'8" running back. But the optimistic spin is,
well,
who gives a you know what? Because you won. Like,
listen,
so what?
They won a Big 12 championship when the entire success of their offense was predicated on a 5'6" running back. So, like,
I don't know. That team was pretty good.
Who was their number 1 wide receiver?
You were. But, Will Howard also had a good year.
Yeah, Will Howard was nice. But, like, let's be honest. That team rode or died with Deuce Vaughn.
That's true. But if Deuce had missed a game that year, I think depending on the opponent, they still could have won.
Well, because their backup is the guy who ended up in the NFL. And K-State's backup right now is Joe Jackson. And I don't think he's going to play a down of NFL football with respect to that young man.
Probably not. So, again, that's the pessimistic read here. But in the end, they won the game. They figured it out. Ideally, you don't have to worry about not having him again, and it opens things up. It's a lot like the Chiefs discussion, right? Like what they want to do requires a certain amount of speed and a certain kind of talent. And when they didn't have that, well, you couldn't execute what you wanted to do. You were trying to make Tyquan Thornton a number 1. And again, no disrespect to him. I'd much rather have him be your second or third option than your number 1. Same with this K-State offense. Now, the one thing that has stood out, and they didn't have Jace Brown for this game, but Jace Brown has been really good this year. The big problem, and I said this on Friday's show, is that they just haven't had anyone else who's played well. But you get back your number 1 running back, you at some point get back your number 1 wide receiver, and suddenly you start to feel pretty good about what this offense can be. And look, there's been so much talk about, well, Avery is playing soft because he's worried about going to the NFL, and his dad is involved, and why won't they run with him, and all this stuff. I am going to give you a piece of advice as a fan of a team, because that's all we are. You and me included here, right? Like, I don't know, and to a degree, I don't really care what his NFL future looks like. Like that's not my business. It's working now, so be happy with what it looks like now. Like, try to ignore the other stuff, the other junk. At this point, K-State is trying to get to a bowl game. I think that's fair to say.
They would, they'd have to go 4-3 the rest of the way against a schedule that looks more daunting on paper than it did when the season began. So yeah, I think if they could get it turned around, back on track, get to a bowl game, go 4-3 in their final 7. Obviously, the season would still go in the disappointment file, but you'd feel like you salvaged something from it.
But honestly, like, looking back long term, you're like, yeah, that year sucked, and you move on. Like, it's not, this really eats at me. This is sticking with me. You can move on from it, and that's something that is attainable for this team. They have to keep playing this well. The defense has to make sure they're going to play better offenses than UCF the rest of the way. There's no doubt about that. So their issues need to be, continue to be improved upon, but there's still a lot ahead of you. And I know that when you thought you were going to make it to the college football playoff, just saying, hey, it's good from this point forward to make it to a bowl, I understand if that feels like damning with the faintest of praise. Okay, I get it. But would you rather just suck?
Right.
No.
Like, that did not look like a team that was going to go like 2-10.
No.
Or 4-8.
No way.
That looked like a team that was capable of winning some football games the rest of the way. And it started with that offense. And we'll double back to the offense here in a little bit. But you mentioned the defense, so we got to bring them up. I think I did the math on this, and I don't remember the exact number, but I had it in front of me when I was doing my instant reaction on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. There were 54 snaps on offense in the game for UCF on which K-State held the Knights to, I think it was like 160 yards. Like, that's a butt-kicking play over play. The problem is that UCF ran 59 snaps total. And on those other 5 snaps, they gained, I believe it was nearly 240 yards. And those are the kinds of things that make it where it doesn't really matter if you dominate play over play. If you're giving up those splash plays, you're giving up points.
Yep.
Like, that is where the problem is. And the splash plays came in large part, and this is not to take anything away from some of the real deal, like, track star speed that UCF has. Like, that DJ Black kid who took the 82-yard touchdown pass, that's a track star. Jaden Nixon's one of the fastest running backs in the Big 12. He took that 54-yard run for a touchdown. Those were the 2 touchdowns that K-State gave up. But that being said, both of those plays happened because K-State made a mistake. They busted a coverage, and Wesley Fair went for an interception when he had no help behind him, and DJ Black had green grass and high tides for that long touchdown. And then on the Jaden Nixon touchdown run, it was Donovan McIntosh who overran his running lane and left a huge hole for Nixon to burst through and just outrun everybody to the end zone. So you're still having some of those mistakes for Kansas State on defense that have been frustrating now through the first 5 weeks of the season. But again, like, play over play, thought the coverage was better down the field. I thought that the defensive line held up. They talked about winning the line of scrimmage. I think they did that pretty convincingly for the better part of Saturday's game. So that was a step in the right direction. We talk about a healthy Dylan Edwards having an impact for the K-State offense. How about a healthy Gunnar Maldonado on the Kansas State defense? He had an interception, and then on the final real meaningful drive of the game for UCF, he had a tackle short of the sticks in space on 3rd down, and then a pass deflection to force a turnover on downs on the 4th down. That was impactful. That was the sort of playmaking that this secondary has really been lacking through the first 4 weeks of the season, because Maldonado's been out there on one wheel. And he looked a lot more spry and said as much on the post game. He was interviewed by K-State Sports Network on the radio and admitted that this was the best he had felt physically all season. So that changes things on the back end for Kansas State in a really positive way. So there were strides made in the right direction. That's what you had to be looking for if you wanted to believe that there was any way to salvage the 2025 season for Kansas State. You had to see not just a win on Saturday, but a convincing one. And that is what you got. Now, do they still look like a team capable of hitting the heights that we thought they could hit when this season began? No, I don't think they quite get there. I don't think they quite get there for a couple reasons. Number one, you still have the continued busts on defense. Still seems like a group that is still a little bit too mistake prone and big play prone on defense. The other thing on offense, Avery Johnson is just not going to be the running quarterback you want him to be. I think is what I have determined, is that he is going to act in the interest of self-preservation more often than he is not. And I am okay with that. But what that also means is sometimes you're going to see the opportunity to scramble, and then rather than take it up the hash mark and meet a safety head on in the hole, he's going to try to get to the sideline. And that might cost you 2-3 yards on a play, and those add up over time, but it also is going to keep Avery Johnson on the field. So, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other in that regard. A little bit of a catch-20. I guess that's the wrong metaphor. A little bit of a catch-22 there. Like, he's not going to be the lower the shoulder and bang into guys for a couple of extra yards. It's just not going to be how Avery Johnson runs. But did we see him more willing to scramble? Absolutely we did. Was he effective scrambling? Absolutely he was. So that was a positive, but I also think that like the big play promise, like the Avery Johnson we saw as a freshman, where when he was in the game, it was understood you are backing up Will Howard. So just go run the ball. You are the running quarterback. Go run the rock. I don't think that Avery Johnson as a runner is coming back. I don't think we're seeing that version of Avery as a runner. And that does lower the ceiling for Kansas State's offense a little bit. What I did think was interesting was the wrinkle of having Blake Barnett in there doing some of the quarterback power stuff, and even having him and Avery Johnson together in the backfield. Now, we saw it for 4 straight plays to open K-State's second drive. It woke up the crowd. Blake Barnett had a couple of nice runs while he was in the game, and then they ran it one more time in the third quarter, and they put it in their hip pocket again. Now, that could be because they knew they were going to win this game, and they felt like they didn't have to show any more of that particular wrinkle. But I'm interested to see where that goes and to see what kind of wrinkle they can accomplish with a bigger quarterback, maybe taking a snap, maybe handing off to Avery, maybe Avery handing off to Blake, maybe one of those guys taking a handoff and throwing the football. We saw what that could look like with 2 quarterbacks in the backfield. That's some Andy Kotelnicki stuff from a couple years back with KU when they had both Daniels and Bean back there. So an interesting wrinkle. To be sure, that I'm really interested to see how that thread gets followed.
Yeah, I think they need to be more creative offensively over the long term. And it's great to see this once, but you hope to now see it again if you're K-State. And okay, we were able to do this against UCF. All right, awesome. What more can we do when we have to go on the road and take on Baylor? What can we do when we have to host TCU in a couple weeks? When we have another bye week after 2 games, you get another bye week. What is it going to look like, when we go to Lawrence to play a Kansas team that wants to win that game so desperately, so badly? Like, what does it look like in those situations? So good start, positive. You have to keep it going. You have to be able to keep those things continuously moving. I like what we saw. Just want to see more of it. I want you to prove that I want K-State to prove
do it again.
that this is who they are, and this isn't what they are. Like, they're not putting a costume on. Like, this is actually the team that they are and are going to continue to be. Because if they start to slink back into the old ways, and if Avery plays even more cautiously and isn't scrambling, okay, then we've got some concerns. You're right about Avery, and I'm almost sugarcoat it like it's a massive disappointment. Like, it is what it is. They can still win like that for sure, but like,
yeah, I mean, he had 77 yards rushing on Saturday. That's pretty good. You'll take that from your quarterback. You'll take 250 all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns through the air, and vitally, no turnovers from your quarterback. You will take that 10 times out of 10.
You will.
But it's disappointing that element isn't there, that it's different, that if it's going to be successful, it's going to look different than what we thought. You're not going to win a Heisman Trophy with that.
I hate to compare humans to meat, but like, I ordered a filet, and I got like a really good burger. That's cool. But you told me I was getting a filet. Like, that's kind of where, again, that's dehumanizing, and I apologize to everyone involved. But like, that's kind of how I feel. Like, I love cheeseburgers. Great. Oh, this is tasty. But you told me I was getting a filet. Like, that's kind of where I am with it. But you can win. You can have a very enjoyable cookout with a burger. No doubt about that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 100%. So the version of K-State I saw Saturday, they can beat Baylor, by the way, because Baylor gave up 27 points to Oklahoma State. Like, they can't stop
dude.
a nosebleed, man. Like,
Well,
K-State can go put up some numbers against Baylor.
Give Baylor a little grace. Their head coach is not one of the most highly respected defensive coordinators of the 21st century. Wait. Hold on.
Some different information.
Hold on. I'm getting some different information now.
Giving us some different information. Now,
imagine if they didn't have Sawyer Robertson.
They'd be a mess.
Yeah.
One last quick point about K-State before we take a break. They announced an attendance of 53,000 plus on Saturday, and I don't think they got that many fannies into the seats. There were still some seats in the upper deck that were left open. Like, we talked to Tim Fitzgerald. Like, if you're from Northwest Kansas and you have season tickets, the 11 a.m. game against UCF probably isn't a priority for you, even if K-State had been undefeated coming into the game. But they sold all those tickets. A lot of the seats were filled. The crowd was enthusiastic. Big pop for Sterling Lockett's first career catch. Big pop for Lincoln Cure's first career catch. It seems like this is a fan base that is still, by and large, again, you can get caught up in what lives on the internet and think that the internet and message boards are real life. But by and large, K-State family's still behind these guys. And I thought that was really encouraging to see. We'll take a timeout. We'll get back into some Big 12 football, talk about KU's tough loss to Cincinnati in a little bit. But when we come back, it's the September semifinals on What Is Wrong With You on 580 Sports Talk. We've reached the end of another month, which means it's time for our semifinals for the month of September on What Is Wrong With You. We have 4 weekly champions that we have assembled and seeded, and we have 2 semifinal matchups today to choose our finalists, and we'll have those 2 tee off against each other on tomorrow's What Is Wrong With You. Our first semifinal features the champion from the first week of the month. The Treasure Trove Park Destroyer. That is quite literal. Treasure Trove Park in Cave City, Kentucky. A 76-year-old man flipped multiple vehicles with a skid loader after a civil dispute got out of hand at the park. 76-year-old Roy Spiker facing multiple charges after he allegedly flipped at least 3 vehicles with a skid loader, then drove it towards another man's home on the property over a disagreement over company values that got out of hand. Without getting too deep into the company values of Treasure Trove Park, if you go Google them and visit their website, you will find that the Treasure Trove Park folks are a lot. And I don't say that. I just it's one of those websites where everything is in all caps and it just feels like it is just very it's a lot. It's just a lot. Lots of emojis.
There are a lot of emojis.
Yes, there is an accusation that this is a rampage hate gang that is trying to take down Treasure Trove Park and its accompanying Wow Town. They've got a petting zoo. They've got
a ticker on their screen that moves 100 miles an hour. Jeez.
Yeah.
It's really annoying.
Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot going on at Treasure Trove Park. And
pardon us as we pause to restore damages and recover from theft transacted against us this week. Is that English?
I am sad to say these assailants were very aggressive in nature, armed and calculated, and we must be calculated and sure of sanctity and safety before we do reopen.
We are striving to fill in the holes. Huh.
So, yeah, a lot going on at the Treasure Trove Park. 76-year-old man got a skid loader and started flipping over some cars in the parking lot, which seems like a bit of an overreaction, frankly. That takes on our champion from this past week, the TA with the fart spray, 32-year-old Alexander Paul Robertson Lewis, a teaching assistant at West Florence High School in South Carolina, who over the course of about a month kept spraying a fart spray into the air and into the ducts at the high school, resulting in a disruption of the school, children requiring medical attention for respiratory issues, and incurring a bill of over $55,000 for inspection and damage to the school's AC. That had to be a disgusting fart spray can.
So, I don't do you get this at a gag shop?
Yeah, something like Spencer's Gifts or something like that.
I guess. Jeez Louise.
Yeah. If you Google fart spray, the first thing that comes up is a product called Liquid Ass.
Yeah, I'll bet. I will bet. So there are 46 counties in South Carolina, and Florence County, where this school is, ranks 30th in education in that state. That state, I believe, is in the bottom 5 in the country in education. These kids do not need the smell of butt. They need books. They need the smell of many leather-bound books. The smell of rich mahogany, not rich butt.
Really
I'm going to vote for this one in this head-to-head. It's just it's simple and stupid. It's the 2 key S's of what is wrong with you.
Yeah. Simplicity and stupidity are beautiful things when it comes to what is wrong with you.
I can't get over this website, though, man. This is wild.
Yeah, the Treasure Trove Park website might be its own what is wrong with you department. Because it's definitely all those emojis and all those misplaced capital letters,
climaxing now.
Careful.
Direct quote from this website.
The other semifinal matchup, we have the Fragrant Felons. This is a story from Santa Barbara County, not far from where my mom's parents lived when I was a kid, and we would go visit them in vacation every summer in Goleta, California. 3 guys stole about $2,000 worth of perfume and cologne from an Ulta Beauty store. They were easy to track and even easier to pin the crime on because when police pulled them over, the car reeked of cologne and perfume. Imagine that.
That's so funny.
It really is. It kind of cracks me up. The other story, we call this one, anyone want to buy a lawnmower? The Akron Public Schools employee who sold the school's lawnmowers on Facebook Marketplace. He's since been fired, by the way. We didn't follow that up. But Stephen Keenan got fired for this blunder. He traded in 11 Akron Public Schools lawnmowers to a vendor without the board's approval. so he could buy new ones. Then he bought 7 of the traded-in ones back, paying $5,700 for these 7 lawnmowers. So, okay, they're down 4 lawnmowers, and when if they were traded in, I guess he didn't get anything for them. So we're down $5,700, and we're down 4 lawnmowers. Then he listed 5 of the 7 lawnmowers he bought for sale on Facebook Marketplace, asking for a total sales price of $14,700. So he would have been up $9,000 and out 9 lawnmowers. I don't know what his plan was to replace all of the other lawnmowers. Not really sure he had one. And Keenan, an administrator with APS, was subsequently fired.
Man, like, I don't even know where he was trying to go with this. This is like when a little kid is telling you a story, and then this happened, and then this happened, and it just is never going anywhere, and just new thoughts keep popping into his head. That's kind of what this plan is. Like, I'm really not sure where he was trying to go with this. So, also, this looks like a guy who would muster up a Facebook Marketplace lawnmower scheme.
So I have the follow-up here from signalakron.org, and I must correct the record. He resigned after an investigation. So he oversaw the trade-in. He was the director of facility services. And so he oversaw the trade-in of these 11 mowers, approved the deals internally without negotiation, then bought 7 of the mowers from the company with the employee and family discount, and listed 5 of them for sale on his personal website. His profit was at least $10,700. So,
wow.
Yeah, man, he was just trying to make a buck. And never mind, I don't know how many schools are in the Akron Public School District, but in fact, I kind of want to know now.
I'm on the case.
How many schools are there in Akron?
All of that.
School Finder. Okay, there are a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11.
Yeah, Akron, bigger than you realize.
20, 21, 22, 23, 27, 29. There are nearly 40 schools here on this map of Akron, Ohio. I'm going to go ahead and round up and say it's close to 40. 2 lawnmowers for 40 schools?
Nah, that ain't going to fly, brother.
What?
No chance.
You're going to have kids at an elementary school playing on a soccer field with the grass up to their necks.
Hey, kids, you wanna really feel the pride of, making this team your own? What if you cut the grass? Here's some trimmers. Here's some scissors.
Barber Elementary. Hey, we lost our soccer ball. We also lost little Braden. He's in the weeds somewhere. All right, who we got in this one?
I'm going with the fragrant felons here. That one in my head is just such a funny image. I think of the SpongeBob episode where they get stuck in the perfume department.
I am going to agree. And I am going to say that we have our most odoriferous.
Odorous?
I think odoriferous is the word.
I'm going to look that up and fact check that one. Odoriferous?
Or odiferous. Odiferous and odoriferous.
Odoriferous is having or giving off a smell, especially an unpleasant or distinctive one.
And that is what we have here. Our most odoriferous
there you go.
championship that we've ever had in a month of What Is Wrong With You. The TA with the fart spray and the fragrant felons will face off on tomorrow's show. We'll take a timeout. We will come back, talk a little about KU's loss to Cincinnati and the rest of the week that was in the Big 12 and 580 Sports Talk. Text from the 785 from that last segment. Love when you guys devolve into word nerds. You give us English teachers hope for the future. I am extremely glad that you notice, and I want to apologize for all the times I've ever gotten subject-verb agreement wrong on this show. Speaking extemporaneously is hard.
Me fail English? That's impossible.
Hey, you quoting The Simpsons? You're stealing my bit. That's my bit.
Should have gone more quickly.
I should have.
For our English teachers who are listening, I hope you know, and I take great pride in this, when people improperly use a verb instead of an adverb, or an adjective instead of an adverb, I always make sure to point it out. Embrace the adverb. I'm doing good. You're doing well. Yeah. Unless you are performing an act of service, in which case, yes, you are doing good. Charlatan.
So
that's the newspaper editor experience.
There you go. Now let's get back into some football. Cincinnati 37, KU 34 at David Booth, Kansas Memorial Stadium on Saturday afternoon. And that game felt like a lot of KU's games last year, where they had an opportunity to win at the very end. They score with a minute 45 left, take the lead. Got to be able to hold. And I think the KU defense wore down over the course of the 60 minutes because they were on the field the whole game, because KU kept scoring these one-play touchdowns to Emmanuel Henderson, which, by the way, man, everything they said about Emmanuel Henderson back in the summer, back during Big 12 media days, during the fall, and during the media availability in the fall, they weren't lying. They were telling us the truth about Emmanuel Henderson. That young man is a home run hitter, no question about it. The slight problem was that KU couldn't really drive the ball when they needed to drive the ball. All of their drives were either one-play quick hitters to Emmanuel Henderson for 7 points. And look, those are unequivocally good drives. I'm not here to say, well, actually, it's bad to score in one play. No, it's extremely awesome to score in one play. But when it didn't work that you scored in one play, KU right now doesn't have the hammer to just walk it down the field. Daniel Highshaw's absence has really hurt the running game in that regard. LaShawn Williams has played well, but he's not Daniel Highshaw. It's not that physical kind of running game that I think KU wanted to really build their running attack around. And as a result, you're not having a lot of those long 10, 12, 13 play drives that produce points and keep your defense off the field. And the end result on Saturday was KU's defense had been on the field all day and had to go out there and get one more stop. And they had to do it without Bengali Kamara, who'd been ejected, and they couldn't do it. And when you combine that with the fumble at the 1 yard line, when Jalen Daniels was going in for what looked like was going to be the go-ahead score at the time, those are the kinds of things that plagued KU last year. And those are habits that clearly they have not quite entirely left back in 2024.
It's alarming. Derek Johnson from the Locked On Jayhawks podcast had a stat earlier today that really didn't make me feel good, to be honest with you. Cincinnati is 1-9. Let me pull up the exact stat because I don't want to butcher it. He did some good research into this. But it's really illustrating the fact that KU has been bad in these kind of situations, that it makes other teams that are bad in them look better. Cincinnati is 1-9 in their last 10 one-score games. Can you guess what the one is?
Yeah,
happened 48 hours ago.
I think we were just talking about it.
Yeah, it's not great, and this is clearly a problem for KU. I don't know what the issue is. I'm not even going to dignify the people online who are too afraid to even show their faces or use their real names on social media, who said, "Is it time to have conversations about Les Leipold? It's time to shove you in a locker, nerd. Shut up. Don't ever say that to me, ever, loser." But that's beside the point. Again, I'm not going to dignify those people. I know there is an issue here. I don't really know what it is, if it's play calling, if it is something with the defense, if it's Lance Leipold being too conservative, but that only hurts you to a point. Like at some point, like you still have to execute what you're being, told to do on the field. I don't know why this is an issue. I don't know if it's more a quarterback thing. I doubt that part, but it's certainly possible. Sometimes and I'm not saying this is Jalen Daniels, but sometimes you have a quarterback problem. And like, wow, why aren't you better than this? You have a good quarterback. You have all these things. I'm referring, of course, to Penn State and the fact that James Franklin is never going to win an important game because he's just incapable of doing it. But also, like, wow, this team is so talented. Why aren't they better? Well, because their quarterback is the most overrated player in college football. Like that's what it is. Narrowly beating out Cade Klubnik. And admittedly, I bought into that as well.
Yeah.
The problem is just not going to go away until it does. And I hate saying that because it's like, wow, great analysis there, dude. But until KU proves that it can win a game in this situation, there's just not really a reason to believe it. I think this hurt, especially because the tide was starting to turn on expectations that, oh, this team could win 8. 8 games should now be the expectation as opposed to 6, maybe 7. And a trip to Arlington for the Big 12 title game, maybe that should be a only slightly lofty expectation. And that's not out of the question yet. I mean, KU could get hot, run the table, and it doesn't matter. But this is why you have to be careful with adjusting expectations on the fly, because there's a reason this team's over-under win total was either 6.5 or 7.5 this year, because this is probably a 7-win team, which is the number I was banging the table for. Yeah. That's a good year. This team missed a bowl game last year. You bounce back, you win 7 games with new offensive coordinators, new defensive coordinator, new receivers, new a lot of stuff, changes on the offensive line. That's still a pretty good season. So you have to be a little careful with those expectations. It sucks to lose to a team coached by Scott Satterfield. It stinks to lose another game in this fashion, so reminiscent of last year. This team can still go to a bowl. They can still win a lot of games, but it is a bit disheartening to say the least.
Yeah, it's a bit of cold water on the optimism that came out of the West Virginia game for sure, especially on the defensive side of the ball where they couldn't get a stop. Sorsby had a huge game. Through the air and on the ground, and KU just could not get off field. There were 1,200 yards of offense in that game. Incredible. Like, that's old school Big 12 right there. And for the one more stop, KU could have protected their home field and gone to 2-0 in the Big 12. Instead, they're 1-1, making the long trip out to Orlando to play UCF on Saturday. Now, beat UCF, I think. UCF's quarterback must be made of adamantium. I cannot believe he came back into the game after the hit he took from, was it Obi Izor? Somebody rocked his world. And he had his jersey off, and they took him to the locker room. So I don't know what they shot him up with in that UCF locker room. But Taven Jackson did come back out in the second half because he got one look at Ja'Cory Brown. It's like, okay, yeah, this isn't going to work. So I don't know. I don't think UCF is particularly outstanding. They got some athletes, but I think KU should be able to beat them. And that gets things.
But that's
back
why
on
you watch
track,
the sport, right? Because they should have beaten Cincinnati.
Yeah, certainly. You feel on paper like they should have beaten Cincinnati. Other Big 12 results from the weekend is second half Arizona State, the best team in the conference.
Possibly. It's totally fair.
They just roll out of bed. They're like me. The alarm goes off and they're a little sleepy and they're not real functional in the morning. They're not really functional to start the day. They gotta ease into it. They gotta have the cup of coffee. They gotta get showered. Maybe have a protein bar. Click around, play on your phone, get the brain going with the Wordle, and then they're ready to rock because they went down 17-0 to TCU and they came back and they won that football game on Friday night. That was a good win for Arizona State, and right now I think them and Texas Tech have separated themselves with a nod to Iowa State as well, who certainly showed that Arizona was a paper tiger. I got to imagine that doused a little bit of the enthusiasm coming from K-State fans after they won on Saturday and they won convincingly. Watch Arizona. Oh man, those guys stink. How do we lose to them? Like just further enhances just what a mess K-State was for the first month of the season. I mentioned Baylor beating Oklahoma State, but that turned into a 4-quarter game against the ghost ship of an Oklahoma State team. They have 27 points to a team that couldn't move it at all against Tulsa the week prior. I think that Baylor defense got some real problems. And Rich Rod is in hell at West Virginia. Everybody is hurt. Like, it's not all like the fault of the players on hand. Like, at some point, you just don't have enough guys.
Yeah.
And they were always likely to struggle. This was always going to be a year zero. That's why you hire a guy like Rich Rodriguez, because he is so beloved that you get that year of grace period, so to speak. And hey, they beat Pitt. If that's the only one they get all year, they beat Pitt.
Yeah, and that'll mean something to them. That program has just been in such a bad spot since Dana left. I mean, the relationship there was so tainted already. He had not recruited well, didn't take care of that program well. He leaves unceremoniously, and they hired a guy who I don't know I don't know that Neil Brown made it worse, but he left it in the same spot for 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do with that? Or 4 years, however long longer than that. He was hired. Wasn't he hired the same time that wasn't that the 2019 year?
I think that might be right.
Yeah. So longer than that. It just left them to sit and stew and do nothing. I mean, just not a functional way to build a program. So yeah, I'd chalk this up as a year 0 for Rich Rod. Also, no disrespect, but guys who are really good in Conference USA, not a guarantee they're all going to be really good in the Big 12. Surprise.
Yeah, Caden Salter's bad. Colorado came out and punched BYU in the mouth, and they led 14-3, and Folsom Field was rocking. And then they just said, well, what if we just don't do any of the stuff we were doing to get up 14-3? What if we just stop doing that?
Yeah, as it turns out, when you don't get to play literally the easiest schedule in the entire country 2 years in a row, you might not look quite as good as you did when you were playing that schedule.
The Coach Prime era Buffaloes have more retired numbers than wins over top 25 teams. Just want to point that out. Also, BYU, like, I'm not convinced BYU is like real good. They're running a Harry high school offense with a quarterback wearing number 47. Like, it's hard for me aesthetically to accept that they are good. But they are physical.
They're tough.
You better pack a lunch when you play the BYU Cougars. That's for sure. We'll take a break. We will come back. We will wrap up this hour. 580 Sports Talk next. Quick recap of the 580 Sports Talk Picks Contest. This is how dire this week was. Spencer got skunked 0-5, and he still leads the contest for the year because the best we could muster, you and I both, Brendan, 2-3. Not a single one of us got a college football spread pick correct this week. We were 0-6.
Yeah, I lost my kids' college fund on college football betting this weekend. It was rough.
That's tough. We did bounce back a little bit yesterday. I nailed both of my NFL spread picks. Shout out to the Giants, not only beating the Chargers yesterday.
Spencer was so confident.
He was.
That was such an obvious spot for the Giants.
Oh, I know. I saw Saw that cab coming down Broadway with his doors open. You hit an NFL pick yesterday, which was the Saints covering that big spread against the Bills. And you also hit your service academy under.
Yeah, Rice, the de facto service academy in Navy. Two teams that run the option. Don't expect points.
I'm taking a hideous beat every week. The under in Oregon, Penn State not hitting, gruesome. We got more 580 Sports Talk coming up next. Let's get it. Third and final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Victory Monday afternoon. We got one more hour to hang out together on this Monday here on the Sports Voice of Kansas, 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and of course on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk, and our Facebook page, WIBW News. I am Dan Lucero, solo for the rest of the program. Brendan Wrzinski had to split. Spencer Dupuis taking today off. So it's just me and you for the rest of the day today. Appreciate you hanging out with me. Look forward to speaking with you here in this final hour of the show. Still got some final Chiefs thoughts that I'm going to get to, as well as thoughts on NFL Week 4 action. We've got part of the Monday Night Football doubleheader coming your way here tonight. Not really a doubleheader. They just put 2 games on a Monday. And hey, you pick one. Would you like the, what is it? I was trying to remember what it was from South Park, and I remembered I don't think it's a thing I can say on the radio. The comparison. Would you like this dud, or would you like a slightly better dud of a game tonight? The best quarterback involved in either 2 games tonight is Bo Nix. I think that's all you need to know about tonight's Monday Night Football offerings. Jets Dolphins is poison. If you watch that, seek help. Unless you're a Jets or a Dolphins fan, in which case I understand. You're watching your favorite team. I respect that. But, I know gambling and fantasy football exist, but, why are you betting on Jets Dolphins? Don't do that. Go have a nice steak dinner. Treat your wife and kids to a nice night out instead of wagering American currency on Jets Dolphins. It's putrid. Broncos Bengals is gross too, especially without Joe Burrow involved. Those are the 2 games tonight. We will bring you Westwood One's coverage of Bengals Broncos tonight. We decided that was the more intriguing of the 2 games, and plus it starts following Chiefs Kingdom, which we'll bring to you at 6:00 tonight when we're done here on 580 WIBW on 580 Sports Talk. We'll bring you the Chiefs Kingdom show. Mitch Holtis be leading the weekly pep rally. This just in. Breaking news. Chiefs 37, Ravens 20. That was huge. You know all the beats. You know all the lines if you've listened to an episode of Chiefs Kingdom before. So we got Chiefs Kingdom at 6 when we're done here, and then we'll bring you Broncos Bengals from Westwood One tonight here on the Sports Voice of Kansas. Still to come on this final hour of the program, we got our headlines, and there's plenty to discuss from the sports weekend. Like I mentioned, some final thoughts on the Chiefs and their win and the rest of the NFL's Week 4 action. And typically we would use the final segment of the show to do a Royals game preview, but we are done with those until next March because the Royals season is over. Major League Baseball regular season coming to an end on Sunday. I've got a couple of thoughts. We'll expand on tomorrow's edition of the show, because we'll hear tomorrow from J.J. Piccolo and Matt Quatrero. They're going to hold a joint press conference at 11 a.m. tomorrow out at Kauffman Stadium. And so we'll hear from them. We'll probably bring you some audio. I don't know if we'll bring it to you in full. We probably won't. But we'll bring some highlights to you in the audio, and we'll hear what J.J. and Q have to say about what this past season was and what they're going to look to accomplish in this upcoming offseason. But I've got a couple of stray Royals thoughts on the end of their season that we'll get to wrap up the show. Want to hear from you? Text line is open. 785-272-9429 is the number. That's 785-272-9429. You can also, of course, interact in the live chat on our YouTube stream. 580 Sports Talk's the name of the channel. And we appreciate everybody interacting with us in the live chat during the live broadcast of the show. If you've never checked out the YouTube, no day like today to start. Go subscribe to the channel. 580 Sports Talk doesn't cost you anything but a click or a tap of your screen. Go smash that subscribe button or gently push it. You don't have to smash anything. That's extreme, but you know what I mean. And drive that subscriber count up, because when we get to 900 subscribers, 580 Sports Talk karaoke's coming. So go subscribe, 580 Sports Talk. I said there'd be headlines. Let's do headlines. Let's start with college football, because we have the Big 12 TV selections for Saturday, October 11th. Of course, this week, You've got K-State kicking off at 11 a.m. and KU's game at 6:30. For September or October 11th, TCU at K-State. That's homecoming in Manhattan, Bill Snyder Family Stadium. That'll be a 2:30 kickoff on Big Fox. So K-State, middle of the day on Big Fox against TCU. And the game following that one on Big Fox will be the KU game. They are at Texas Tech that night. That game could have some juice to it. Texas Tech is still unbeaten, still the top-ranked Big 12 team, which is a possibility. That game will kick off at 6:30. And again, that is a national Fox telecast. Rest of the Big 12 games for Saturday, October 11th. UCF Cincinnati, 11 a.m. FS1. Houston at Oklahoma State. Oh, my God. Gross. Disgusting. Keep that game far away from me. That's the TNT game at 11 a.m. on October 11th. Iowa State, Colorado, 2:30 at Folsom Field in Boulder on ESPN. BYU, Arizona, 7 p.m. ESPN2 kickoff. Arizona State, Utah will be your Big 12 After Dark selection. That should be a good game on October 11th, 9:15 on ESPN. Speaking of ranked teams, new AP Top 25 out this week has Ohio State maintaining their spot atop the poll at number 1 after they took down Washington on Saturday on the road. Oregon rises 4 spots to number 2 after their thrilling double overtime win over Penn State. That was a really fun game. That and Alabama, Georgia going on at the same time. I hope you had 2 screens going because I did, and I enjoyed both games immensely. Oregon with 16 first-place votes, Ohio State with 46. Miami has the other 4 number 1 votes in the AP Top 25. They drop a spot to number 3. Ole Miss, the big riser this week, up 9 spots after they beat LSU. They are the number 4 team in the country with a quarterback who was playing Division II football last year. You don't think they got ballers in Division II. You don't know ball yourself. Ole Miss, number 4. Oklahoma up 2 spots to number 5. Texas A&M up 3 spots to 6th. Penn State drops 4 spots to number 7th. Indiana, Texas, and Alabama rounding out the top 10. Bama up 7 spots after they beat Georgia. 11 through 15, Texas Tech, Georgia, LSU, Iowa State, and Tennessee. So Texas Tech up a spot without playing. They must look really good in their bye-week practices. They are the highest-ranked Big 12 team for another week. 16 through 20, Vanderbilt, Georgia Tech, Florida State, Mizzou, and Michigan. 21 through 25, Notre Dame, Illinois, BYU, and then the 2 newcomers to the poll this week, Virginia and Arizona State. Virginia into the poll after their double overtime win on Friday night over Florida State. Arizona State 4-1 beat TCU, who had been previously ranked. So Arizona essentially takes TCU's spot in the poll. USC drops out of the top 25 as well. Utah is the second team out. So effectively number 27. TCU was in the also receiving votes as well. So that is your AP Top 25. Those are your college football headlines to open up our headline segment. To the NFL, couple of really disappointing injury updates coming from Sunday's action. New York Giants star receiver Malik Nabers tore his ACL in their win over the Chargers. He, of course, will miss the rest of the 2025 season. That is a crushing blow to a Giants team who had just switched quarterbacks, just handed the reins to Jackson Dart, and now he doesn't have his best wide receiver for the rest of his rookie campaign. Giants-Chargers was the local game, at least here in Topeka. That was the game. That was the Fox game, or excuse me, it was the CBS game. And I watched that. I had that game on the main screen yesterday. The Giants were running a very high school offense, but Jackson Dart and Cam Scadaboo are some wild boys, man. They're tough to bring down. They're some stubborn boys. And I think that Brian Dable can make that shake a little bit, even if the passing game will be largely neutered with the loss of one of the best young receivers in the game, Malik Nabers. That is a really disappointing loss for the Giants, really for fans of football to see a guy that talented out for the rest of the season. Also out for the season, we told you something didn't smell right around Nnamdi Madubuike's injury and how cagey the Ravens were being about their star defensive lineman throughout this week. And then this weekend, he was placed on injured reserve. And after the game, John Harbaugh was asked about Madubuike's status and still wouldn't comment on it. Well, today, it is official. Matabike is going to miss the remainder of the season with that neck injury that he is dealing with. We still don't know further details about the nature of the injury and whether this could be even longer term than just a season, but Matabike will not return, and that is just a massive blow to the Ravens, who also have lost Roquan Smith for multiple weeks with an injury suffered on Sunday in their loss to the Chiefs, and may lose Lamar Jackson for multiple weeks after he injured his hamstring and left the game late in the third quarter. Obviously, that is a big blow to the Ravens, who are already 1-3. Other injury notes from the week: former K-Stater, current Detroit Lion, DJ Reed, injured his hamstring and had to be carted off the field in their win over the Browns yesterday. He was injured in the fourth quarter, was playing a good game before that, had an interception, in fact. Dan Campbell says that they expect to be without Reed for a while, but, quote, the good news is this is not a season ender. We will get him back, it looks like. So that's the good news. He's a stud, end quote. So disappointing for DJ Reed. He's had a really good career, DJ Reed. And I'm not telling, K-State fans anything they don't already know because they follow their guys, but it's been weird to me that DJ Reed has never really stayed in one place very long. He's played on 4 different teams in what is now an 8-year career. And the longest he stayed in one place was with the Jets the last 3 seasons before he signed with Detroit. He's always been pretty good. Like everywhere he's gone. Now, I wouldn't even say pretty good. I think he's been excellent just about everywhere he's been. He was a good Seahawk 2020, 2021. He was solid with the Jets and was off to a good start with Detroit before suffering that hamstring injury. So that was disappointing to see, and hope for a quick return to health for the former K-State Wildcat, DJ Reed. Also, 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy re-injured or re-aggravated his turf toe injury in their 26-21 loss to the Jacksonville Jaguars. The 49ers have a quick turnaround. They play the Rams on Thursday night. It sounds like Purdy's status for that one is up in the air. His head coach, Kyle Shanahan, saying, quote, anytime you have a Thursday game, it's a totally different element. So I'm concerned with anybody who's not totally healthy at this moment, but we'll have to get more information on that later today to really have a clue of what to speculate. So those are your injury notes from the National Football League. We continue with our 580 Sports Talk headlines. The Major League Baseball season is over, and the playoff field is officially set. The noteworthy happenings from yesterday: division championships sewn up by Toronto, and somehow, some way, Cleveland, the Guardians, won the American League Central. They were 15 and a half games out of first place in July. They made no moves at the deadline. Their closer might be barred for life in a gambling scandal. They got 2 good hitters on the entire team. 3 if they're playing the Royals, where Kyle Manzardo turns into prime Manny Ramirez. And they won the freaking American League Central. Go figure. Also, the Cincinnati Reds made the playoffs. What? That happened. The Reds backdoored their way into the playoffs because despite their loss to the Brewers, the New York Mets also lost yesterday to the Miami Marlins, which meant that the Reds, who had the season series tiebreaker over the Mets, won the 6th seed in the National League. And so the Reds, who went 83-79 this season, and who are, every metric you want to look at, not good. This is not a good baseball team, but there they are. They're in the playoffs because this is what Rob Manfred runs. More October baseball, more teams with a chance to win. I should point out that the Reds are only the 4th team in Major League history to have 83 or fewer wins in a full season and make the playoffs. The last team to do it, that was the 2005 St. Louis Cardinals. And what did they do? They won the World Series. So can't rule out the Reds. They got a best of 3 against the Dodgers. Those best of 3s, as we all know, lend themselves to some chaos. So the best of 3s are set and will begin tomorrow, which means we get to bring back the playoff roundup tomorrow. Who's excited for that? Playoff roundup tomorrow. In the American League, it'll be the number 3 seed Guardians at home against the number 6 seed Detroit Tigers, who almost blew a playoff spot. Never mind just blowing the Central Division. They almost blew a playoff spot. They were able to clinch on Saturday. Houston is the team that does not make the playoffs for the first time since 2016. The other wild card matchup, and Major League Baseball could not be happier about this one. Red Sox, Yankees in a best-of-3 in the Bronx. The winner of the Tigers-Guardians series will advance to take on the number 2 seed Seattle Mariners, champions of the West for the first time in 24 years. The Yankee-Red Sox winner will play the Toronto Blue Jays, who have the best record in the American League. So it's an American League East Invitational on one half of the bracket. Maybe you're glad that only one of those teams could possibly make it to the championship series, that we are guaranteed to see either a Tigers team who captured America's hearts last year as the scrappy underdog, a Guardians team who has not won a World Series since 1948, or a Mariners team who has never even been to a World Series. One of those teams is going to get to within 4 wins of an American League pennant. Maybe you think that's good. I'm not here to tell you you're wrong. Over in the National League, the number 3 seed is the Los Angeles Dodgers. They will take on the aforementioned number 6 seed Cincinnati Reds. I mean it. The Royals are, I know the Royals finished with fewer wins, 82 wins to Cincinnati's 83. The Royals are better than the Reds. I think the Royals are better than the Guardians. Honest to God, I do. That's baseball for you. You know, the Reds and the Guardians got more out of their best starting pitchers than the Royals did out of theirs. And it'd be like that sometimes. The Dodgers and the Reds, one of the wild card series winner. That one gets the number 2 seed Philadelphia Phillies, who won the American League East. The other wild card series, the Chicago Cubs and the San Diego Padres, a rematch of the 1984 National League Championship Series. In that best-of-3 at Wrigley Field, winner of that one gets the team who finished the year with the best record in all of baseball and will have home field advantage throughout the World Series, just like we all predicted back in March, the Milwaukee Brewers. So that is where the Major League Baseball playoff bracket stands. If you're asking who I think is going to win the World Series, I'm here to tell you I don't have any idea. All of these teams seem pretty flawed to me. Some teams are talented enough to make their flaws not matter. Sometimes it doesn't matter at all because you just get disgustingly hot for a month and then you're the 2023 Arizona Diamondbacks and you come within 3 wins of a title despite being completely mid for the entire season. Could we see something like that? Yeah, sure. It could be Reds Guardians. It could be an all-Ohio World Series, and it wouldn't surprise me in the least. But I want you all to be prepared because I think it's going to be Dodgers-Yankees again. I do. I think it's going to be Dodgers-Yankees again. That's going to be my pick. Dodgers-Yankees again. Do I want this? Honestly, I would rather have that than an all-Ohio World Series because at least I get to see some awesome players. More awesome players. Like at the end of the day, my rooting interest comes down to I want to see the teams with the most awesome players. I don't want to see Jose Ramirez and the Pips playing deep into October. I don't. And I think unless you're a Guardians fan, that's probably not what you should want to see either. I have no interest in that. I have absolutely zero interest. Like, I hate the Dodgers. You understand this. But this is what the Major League Baseball playoffs, the expanded playoff, has done to me. I will be rooting for the Dodgers like I grew up in Orange County because the alternative is I got to watch the Reds. Hey, here's one for you guys. Name a Red. Okay, you gave me Ellie De La Cruz. Or maybe you're a Royals fan, you gave me Brady Singer. Name another. I got all day. I don't have all day. I have 36 minutes. Name another Red. Pete Rose doesn't count. He's in the ground. That's what I'm saying. But it could be. It could be the Reds. You never know. That's the magic and maybe the frustration in some ways of October. But the playoffs start tomorrow. We'll give you a playoff roundup. My prediction, I'm on the record. I think it's going to be the Dodgers. I think it's going to be the Yankees. I think the Dodgers are going to win again. I'm not happy about it. Trust me. But I'm just preparing you for what I feel is the inevitable. We got some baseball fans on the text line that are naming Reds. Shout out to TJ Friedel and Nick Martinez and Hunter Green, who is genuinely, Hunter Green's been on the cover of Sports Illustrated. That would be the Red you know if you don't know any other non-Ellie De La Cruz Reds is Hunter Green, who is very good. He was an all-star this year or last. Andrew Abbott was an all-star this year. I had forgotten that was a thing. I know who these guys are. You guys know me well enough to know I know who plays for the Reds. But I'm wondering y'all know who plays for the Reds. Because I'm guessing there's a good chunk of y'all listening out there who don't know who plays for the Reds. You're sitting there thinking, is Dan Dreesen still kicking around? What about Davey Concepcion? When was the last time he played? Or maybe you're not that old, but you remember like the 1990 Reds and you're thinking like, shout out to Chris Sabo and his rec specs. Anyway, let's wrap up our headlines with the winner's circle. Winners from the weekend. A thriller of a race at Kansas Speedway on Sunday. Double overtime. Chase Elliott takes home the checkered flag, earns a spot in the third round of the NASCAR playoffs. Denny Hamlin dominated most of the race, had some problems late, and was unable to seal the deal. So it's Chase Elliott, the beloved driver of the Kelley Blue Book car, at least yesterday, who brings home the checkered flag at Kansas Speedway. He and Ryan Blaney are locked into the third round of the playoffs. The field will be cut from 12 to 8 drivers after next week's race in New Hampshire. And Europe retains the Ryder Cup. 15-13, the final after a spirited day 3 charge by the Americans in singles play. But it came up just short. Shane Lowry delivered the winning half point for Europe that sealed the cup and kept it in the hands of Team Europe. I mentioned this during Ugly. The behavior of the spectators at Bethpage Black, particularly on Saturday, was truly appalling. And it got to the point where you like, it's one thing to be spirited and root for your team. And there's a little bit of heckling that doesn't cross a line. Like I saw a video of somebody, Rory McIlroy was fiddling with a button on his shirt. And the guy yelled out, "You don't need a button to choke, Rory." And like Rory laughed and gave the guy a thumbs up because that's clever. That's a good line. F you. That's not clever. You don't have to be clever to tell somebody or chant the F word. That's like the least clever thing you could do. You're not clever. You're going after a guy's personal life, or you're throwing a beer at a guy's wife. You're not clever. You're just a loser. You're a D-bag. You're the worst of us. You're the worst representation of what Team USA is in international competition, behaving like that. That was gross. And it made me glad that Europe won if American fans were going to act like that. And if that's going to be encouraged by the PGA of America, we don't deserve to win any Ryder Cups moving forward. And Rory turning the gallery and telling individual fans to bleep off, he should. He should get to tell them all, one by one. He should get to look them all in the eye and tell them where to go after how awful they were to him and to Shane Lowry in particular on Saturday. I thought that was gross. I complained about the Ryder Cup on social media. I think there's a lot to complain about from the USA side. Keegan Bradley was obviously a terrible choice as captain, running the worst possible pairing for foursomes, Colin Morikawa and Harris English. Statistically, it was the worst possible pairing. You could not put a worse collection of two players from the U.S. Ryder Cup team together to play together by the data. And Keegan did it twice, and they lost both their matches, and the U.S. lost the Ryder Cup by 1.5 points. I wonder if that mattered. So Keegan was obviously the wrong choice. But broadly, the problem that the United States has in the Ryder Cup is that they don't do the team stuff. Europe enjoys the team aspect of it. They got guys who are boys, who are friendly, and they care about being good together and supportive of each other. And all the Americans are out there just out for themselves. That's why America's really good in the singles and terrible in the team events, the foursomes and the fourball on Friday and Saturday. The Europeans have that figured out, and they use the data to put together good teams. And we got that dork Keegan Bradley ignoring the data and going with vibes and a lesser team and losing because of it. So I'm not as upset about it as I thought I was going to be, because they did rally on Sunday and they did make it respectable, but they got to change a lot about the process, the U.S. Ryder Cup team. And they can start by appointing a full-time captain, not a playing captain. Somebody who treats it like a job, because Luke Donald for Europe, he treats it like a job. Anyway, I'm done complaining about golf. We're going to take a timeout. We're going to get back into some football. It's a victory Monday. The Chiefs won on Sunday. I've got a couple more thoughts from that game, plus the rest of the NFL's week 4. I'm jumping way ahead. I don't know where week 8 came from. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back with more 580 Sports Talk after this. 5:33 on 580 Sports Talk. Again, this program does not have a stat boy like old school PTI, but I do have sharp-eared and sharp-minded texters who keep me honest. So a correction I must offer from the opening segment, pointed out by a texter from the 785. The Cincinnati Reds are indeed the most recent team, one of four now in a full season in Major League Baseball history to make the playoffs with 83 wins. And the last one to do it was the St. Louis Cardinals in a year that they won the World Series. But I got the year wrong. That was 2006. In 2005, it was the Chicago White Sox winning the World Series over the Houston Astros. That is my mistake. I regret the error. Obviously not my first. But I especially apologize to all my dear friends from DePaul University who were big White Sox fans. I knew more White Sox fans. There were a lot of kids from Chicago went to that school in West Central Indiana when I was there from 04 to 08. A lot of kids from Chicago. And predominantly White Sox fans. I was stunned. I didn't think there were any. I thought everybody from Chicago was a Cubs fan. I thought you had to be a real sicko to be a White Sox fan. And I guess now that really holds true. But no, most of the people I knew, most people I was cool with, they were White Sox people. So shout out to all my old White Sox pals. I'm sorry I forgot you guys won a World Series. Sorry I tried to give it to the Cardinals instead. They've got plenty of their own. It's 2006. The 83-win Cardinals won the World Series. And I didn't like it then either. Although the thing about that World Series championship is that, like, it fits historically because that Cardinal team had been awesome in 2004 and they've been awesome in 2005. They lost the championship series to the Astros. And it was the same guys, right? It was Roland, it was Pujols, it was Edmonds. It was that core of guys. They probably should have won a title together, and they did. Even though it came in a year where their regular season wasn't as good, it makes sense that they won a championship in a way that it will make no sense if the Cincinnati Reds win the 2025 World Series. That will make no sense at all. It'll just be, oh, that was weird. So, again, I like when things are narratively satisfying. You know what was satisfying was Chiefs win over the Ravens yesterday afternoon at Arrowhead Stadium. And like we pointed out at the top, and Mark B brings it up in the YouTube chat, that they were playing a real beat-up football team. Like the Ravens are in a bad way, and they got worse as the game went on. Roquan Smith got hurt. Lamar Jackson got hurt. Nate Wiggins got hurt. They had the elbow injury that carted him off the field, or carted him off the sideline anyhow. Ronnie Stanley started the game but had to leave. Obviously, Matabike and Van Noy, who were their entire pass rush, didn't play. Like, that's all true. That Ravens team is a shell of the Ravens team that we have seen the last couple of years. But at the same time, how many times have we sat behind a microphone on a Friday and confidently predicted routine Chiefs victory because they were playing a team that on paper wasn't good at all? Like, had no good players. Remember the Carolina game last year? Remember the Tennessee game a few years back where they had to start Malik Willis and basically ran the option, ran the veer for 4 quarters? Remember all those games that we've seen the last 3 years where on paper the Chiefs should have cruised, and there they were having to win in overtime. Or there they were having to kick a last-second field goal. And it wasn't even so much playing with their food, or as it was just kind of playing down to the competition, not using the opportunity, playing a weakened team to dominate thoroughly a weakened team. They dominated yesterday. They deserve all the credit in the world for finishing off the wounded animal that is the Baltimore Ravens. And maybe not finishing off for the entire season. There's still a long ways to go. But that was a team that came in beat up, and the Chiefs beat them up worse and made a statement and showed, you know, I talked about the kinds of statement wins the Chiefs have had in recent years, the kind of wins they would go out and put out against really good teams in December in particular, serving as reminders going into the playoffs. Look, this goes through us. Make no mistake about it. We may have messed around a little bit in September and October, But the weather got cold and we got serious, and we'll see you all in Arrowhead in January if you dare, because the road to the Super Bowl goes through us, just in case you forgot. We've seen performances like that. But even last year's performances like that weren't overwhelming. Like, they were very good against Houston. They were very good on Christmas Day at Pittsburgh. So those would be performances that I would categorize like that. But I thought yesterday was something else entirely. Matt Verderame, we talked to him in the 3:00 hour today, our NFL insider. He said that was as good as the Chiefs have looked in 3 years. And I'm hard pressed to disagree. I thought offensively that's the best they've looked since they traded Tyreek Hill. That is the most complete that they have looked since Tyreek Hill was no longer a Chief. Since that iteration of the Chiefs was broken up. Because we just haven't seen the level of receiver talent. We haven't seen the level of speed, both vertically and horizontally, opening up the whole field. I don't think we've seen that level of offensive line play. That's coming along. Juwan Taylor, we didn't talk about Juwan Taylor at all yesterday. Didn't have to. He didn't commit a penalty. He played really well. Up the middle, Smith and Humphrey, those guys are the spine. You never have to worry about them. But it's coming along for Kingsley Suamataia. And it's coming along really fast for Josh Simmons. And goes back to the point that Matt made when we talked to him before the season. He said, look, I think what it comes down to is if the Chiefs can block, forget about it. If they can block for Patrick Mahomes with the weapons that he should have this year, they're going to get Rashee Rice back. They've now got Xavier Worthy back. With those two guys, plus, like, Tyquan Thornton being somebody who is reliable and that you can throw to down the field, plus reliable veterans finding their place, finding their roles like Juju Smith-Schuster, and I think you have to file Travis Kelce in that bucket as well. Because I thought the way they used Kelce yesterday was perfect. Just middle of the field, you can get him one-on-one, you can still trust him. He's not going to make a whole bunch of guys miss, though he did. He had a good result in a little tight end out, tight end screen. He did make a couple of guys miss on a play yesterday. But I thought their usage of Kelce was as good as it could be with this version of Travis Kelce. I think we're starting to see the Chiefs, like they do it every year. They're like Thanos. They gather the Infinity Stones as the season goes along. I think you are starting to see that process, maybe earlier than usual out of necessity, because, look, Chiefs couldn't lose on Sunday. You don't want to be 1-3. It wouldn't have been panic time. It wouldn't have been season over, dynasty over, but it would have been really, really hard for the Chiefs to get to where they want to go. And it would have been more of an uphill climb without getting to where the playoffs are more of an uphill climb if the Chiefs don't win the division, get a bye, or at least one of the top 2 seeds. Like, you still want those things. Keep those things in play. You can't go 1-3. And they didn't. And I thought they were remarkably impressive. Both sides of the ball. I thought Spagnuolo was really, really good. Calling plays. I thought the front four played well. Nick Bolton as a blitzer was awesome. What a wrinkle that was. Chanel's interception was a great play. You know who's grading out exceptionally well in Pro Football Focus? And by exceptionally well, I mean better than any other rookie on defense in the NFL. Noel Williams. I know you can't believe it either. Brett Veach found a guy that can play some corner on the second day of the NFL draft. I know. It's stunning, right? So out of character for Brett Veach and the Chiefs. You see, we're only 4 weeks in, and 2-2 is not the start anybody would have hoped for or envisioned for these Chiefs, but you can see it starting to come together. Jacksonville's next on Monday Night Football this coming week, and we'll get to more preview of that as the week goes on and into next Monday. But I'm going to tell you right now, I am not convinced that Jacksonville is good. I think they've been very turnover lucky, and I don't believe they're actually good. I don't think Trevor Lawrence is good, and they can run the ball. They've got some good run game stuff. Chiefs saw a lot of that run game stuff last year against Tampa Bay. They've got some stuff on film. I think they're going to be prepared. This is not one that, as I sit here on a week out of kickoff, that I am really worried about for the Chiefs at all. I'm not worried. Especially not if that offense is a preview of coming attractions. Got this comment, too, from the 316 on the text line. Again, 785-272-9429. 316 says, just say it, Dan. Lamar quit. 2026 will not see, what's his name? John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson together. I don't know about quitting for Lamar. He's a two-time MVP. He's a great, great player. I don't know that he quit. We'll see how long that hamstring injury keeps him out. Like, hamstrings are tough. But I will say this. I don't know that he quit, but he absolutely was frustrated in a way that you rarely see a player of those talents frustrated. And I don't necessarily think it was a frustration with his own team. I just think he was frustrated by what the Chiefs were doing defensively. And I think that he, towards the end of that game, when he knew it was getting away and understood what that meant, what that loss meant for the Ravens and what it means for the rest of their season, and the injuries starting to pile up, I think he kind of had the feeling that, man, this might be the whole year getting away from me. This might be a year of my prime getting away from me and not having the best possible chance to win a Super Bowl. Because you don't get that every year. Those chances are finite. You run out eventually. And I think Lamar was sensing that a little bit. Maybe that's an over-exaggeration, but I don't think that was quitting. I think that was frustration. And at that point, look, the game was over. What the Chiefs were doing to the Ravens offense, there was no sense in keeping him out there, even if he had been healthy. Couple of other quick thoughts from the NFL week that I want to get to. Sunday Night Football last night was the most unserious game we're going to see all season. The Packers got a little too much mess around in them for me to really take them seriously as Super Bowl contenders. That doesn't mean I don't think they're good. I just think they got a little streak of unseriousness to them. The Cowboys are profoundly unserious, but Dak Prescott played great. And George Pickens, man, when he's invested, that's one of the top 10 receivers in the NFL when his head's on straight. Problem is his head's never on straight. 40-40 was the final, a tie. First 40-40 tie in NFL history. You got scoregami last night. That was your reward if you stayed up till 11 o'clock to watch Dallas Cowboys football last night. One other thing I want to bring up, and this is self-indulgent, but I'm going to do it anyway because, hey, it's just me in here right now. Are the Seattle Seahawks a team to beat in the NFC West? I don't know that the answer to that question is yes, but I'm willing to entertain the idea of the question because Brock Purdy still doesn't look all the way healthy and didn't really play well against the Jaguars on Sunday anyway. I know the Rams are 3-1, but it feels like that's being held together with duct tape right now with Stafford. The Cardinals aren't good. The Seahawks are 3-1. Defensively, they're playing really, really well. And I haven't done a 180 on Sam Darnold, but the metrics all love what the Seahawks offense is doing through 4 weeks. So maybe I need to be nicer to Sam Darnold, get on board, but something to consider, just something to think about, just a little food for thought. Take a quick time out here at 580 Sports Talk. We got more coming up. 549 on 580 Sports Talk. Round and third, heading for home on this edition of the program. This would typically be this C block segment, the 5 o'clock hour. For the last 6 months or so, this has been a Kansas City Royals preview. Look ahead to the game we were going to hear tonight on 580 WIBW. Give you the pitching matchup, give you the starting lineups, some stray Royals thoughts. Those are done for a while now because the Royals are done for a while. They wrapped up their season on Sunday, did so in a winning effort. Royals are into the books in 2025 as a winning team. 82 wins and 80 losses. They finished with a run differential of plus 14, which again, I stress is better than the team that actually won the American League Central this year, the Cleveland Guardians, even in a 162 game sample. So much comes down to your sequencing. When do you score runs? How many of them do you score in certain games? You don't have control over that, really. Sometimes there are things that are out of your control that are the difference between winning a division title and staying at home. Bobby Witt Jr. ends the season as the league leader in hits and doubles, which is pretty cool. A down year for Bobby Witt Jr. from last season. Yeah, he wasn't as good as he was in 2024. That is true. It is also true that he was worth 7.1 Baseball Reference wins above replacement and is going to win another Gold Glove because he might have been the best defensive player in baseball this year, certainly in the American League. And led the league in hits for a second straight year and doubles for the first time. Carlos Estevez led the league in saves. That's pretty cool. You know how many guys have done that in Royals history? 2. Him and Dan Quisenberry. That's good. That's cool company to keep. Quiz was such a cool cat. Carlos Estevez, 42 saves. That's pretty cool. Cole Reagans, well, we only got to see 13 starts and 61 and 2/3 innings this year. If we could have just gotten one more month out of Cole Reagans, maybe that would have been the difference. Cole Reagans in 61 and 2/3 innings struck out 98 guys. 14 strikeouts per 9 for Cole Reagans. He makes 25 starts next year. Keep your October open. All I'm going to tell you. I feel really good about the direction of the Royals. I do. I don't feel like this was a year, even though they missed the playoffs after making it last year. I don't feel like this is a year where they took a step backward. It wasn't a big step forward. It wasn't really a step forward at all, but they held their gains. They showed aggressiveness in the front office. They showed they got some young talent both on the mound and in the field on the way. I think you can feel good about the direction of the 2025 Kansas City Royals into 2026. What they have on hand isn't good enough. They're going to have to add a little more bullpen depth to be nice. At least one, if not two more reliable big league bats. Maybe a real hitter in center field would be nice. Certainly they're going to need Jack Caglione to deliver on his promise and hope that the first 232 plate appearances of his career are not a sign of things to come. But there's good stuff. There's stuff to be excited about. And I'm interested to hear from JJ Piccolo and Matt Quatrero tomorrow because I think they're going to have some interesting stuff to say. And we'll talk about that more and do a little bit more looking ahead to the future with the Royals on tomorrow's show. But sadly, no baseball tonight. We got Chiefs Kingdom coming up in about 7 minutes, and then we'll have Monday Night Football, Bengals and Broncos from Westwood One instead. We'll take one more timeout, come back with a final word, wrap up this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Wrapping up, walking off this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Thanks so much for hanging out on this Victory Monday. I used it as my good, the bad, the ugly earlier in the show. The worst part of football is injuries. And it is a sport that is violent, and injuries are inevitable. They're part of the game, and they're truly unfortunate. But what a joy it was this weekend to see a couple of players locally who had been injured come back and put their outstanding football gifts on display. Dylan Edwards for Kansas State just totally changed the tenor of what Kansas State felt capable of doing on offense. They went from a group totally stuck in the mud to feeling explosive, feeling potent, feeling confident. A couple of changes on the offensive line didn't hurt either. Shout out to Mill Valley / Scott City's own Gus Hawkins. He was really good at right tackle. Devin Bass played a really good game too. I want to see more of those guys. But Dylan Edwards, superb on Saturday. Can't wait to see more of him as they try to draw Kansas State closer to their potential. And then Xavier Worthy. Brilliant game from Xavier Worthy. Chiefs were brilliant in getting him the football, and he unlocks a lot for that Chiefs offense. And all of a sudden now the Chiefs offense feels like they've got some limitless possibilities once they get Rashee Rice back here in a couple of weeks. That'll do it for 580 Sports Talk today. Again, Chiefs Kingdom is next, followed by Bengals Broncos. We'll be back with you tomorrow from 3 until 6, and I will be back because I don't have jury duty. For Brendan, I'm Dan. Good night!